Neighbors are getting restless
Needs no
out there.
announcement.
She needs to make her great
Yeah.
entrance.
Well, let's give her 60 seconds to get situated.
We are now live on YouTube.
There you no gossiping along before you get in here. Get in here now.
I can't wait to see what like 8:30. It might not even be 9 o'clock. It might start earlier this year. Wow.
Does she turn into a werewolf?
No, I go nutty after 9.
Wow.
I am known for getting a little punchy after 9 o'clock. That's why I don't get a pointer to point at the TV anymore and Jean's got a handle on it. We're
Yes.
all done.
Oh, she brought a friend.
Oh, it was Peg that was causing you to be late. All right.
Okay.
No, now we know who the blame.
You know, you were heard in the hallway.
You didn't even hear him. Yeah, the usual lineup over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cliff is virtual today.
Yes, great.
Or if you want to be over here too.
Screen here.
I have bad news. I'm gonna be stepping down. I've reduced the other guys, so I want to tell you. Okay. It is bad news. You're gonna miss us.
We tried to do the we don't accept her
But they
resignation,
were
but
gonna
it
tie
didn't
me
fly.
down, but.
Yes.
I like Velcro myself.
You're outside. Because it's kind of fun.
So noted.
Duly noted. Was that like saying game on? We are ready. I apologize.
Okay, well. Let Mary
Whenever
get,
You're ready, brother.
let Mary get in her seat.
Are we on? Are we started?
As soon as you get that.
Looks like us,
Yeah.
the official verbiage.
All right. All right. Call to order of the Berlin Finance Committee. Open session public meetings are subject to being recorded. Your image and voice will be recorded. All right, so our first item of business, the minutes from last week.
Okay, there were 2 corrections, the date, and I had a name spelled wrong. Was there any other corrections?
I don't think so.
That's all I had.
All right, do you have a motion for the minutes?
Did it?
He said it, you didn't hear it? I thought actually it had been recorded.
I thought it's been recording. Has it, is it?
Will it say it on?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me just.
Looks like it's recording.
Yeah, it says it's recording. We're good.
Do we need another statement?
No, it's
No,
still
we're-
been recording,
we're
so
good.
we're.
Okay. I move that we accept the minutes as corrected.
I seconded.
All right, any other discussion in the minutes? Okay, roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, aye.
Heidi, I.
Julie, aye.
And Cliff.
Yeah, Cliff Eye.
Okay,
He was really disembodied. Where's that sound coming from in the sky?
Voice from beyond.
that one sounded like it came directly from there.
I think, Mary, it's coming to
Speak
your
the
brain.
concept.
Oh, it's right in the middle of the,
You're in the ceiling, Cliff, I think.
Mhm.
I'm
But
only,
then you're-
Mary, I'm in your heart. That's where you're hearing.
It's not even February yet.
You know,
He's warming up.
Gallery.
Yeah, it's an open session.
all right, is recreation here?
They are.
All right, and come forward.
Right.
We got wrecked tonight?
Mhm.
Okay. Just breaking things apparently. All right, so this is the summary form of your budget, however you want to walk through. I'll bring up whatever form you'd like. If you want
Okay.
to start with this one.
Excuse
So this is the
Kristen,
first time I've done
Can
Oh,
this.
you
yeah,
share-
Cliff.
can you share the document?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me.
I'm
That's
sorry, can we
okay.
have your name too?
Felicia Lowe.
Okay. Not that one. Go back to Zoom. Now, of course, I put it way down in the corner, so there we go. Share. Share. Oh, then I don't have, yeah, then I can watch it on here. Don't mind me. I talk to myself all day long. Just helps.
Thank you,
Wait a minute, how can you
Kristen. Thank
See what
you.
I'm sharing.
There he is.
Yeah, but I can't see it.
Funny.
Sorry, give me 1 second. Oh, my screen, that's what I want to see. There we go. Okay. Hide panelists. Okay,
Okay, we're
ready.
good to go. Okay, so this is my first time doing this kind of on my own, but I think I did everything properly. A lot of stuff we're just keeping the same as last year. We have the request for the 10,400 still for the part-time recreation position. Obviously, we haven't hired someone for that yet, but we're hoping that will be, you know, in the next month or two, it'll go back out to be advertised. And we'd really like to keep that going because it's desperately needed. We have Cully Septic. The price increased a little bit, but I feel like it's been standard the past few years from what I saw from the other budgets. And that is for the 4 portable toilets. 2 of them are ADA compliant. And there was another thing there too.
So all of that is Southfield, right, Felicia?
Yes, all
Yeah.
for South Commons
South
maintenance
Commons.
stuff. Yep. So it's the 4 portable toilets, and I believe, like last year when we did the soccer camp, they gave us a deal on a portable hand washing station and things like that, and I think that was included in that
That's
last
great.
I
time.
can go down to the,
Yeah.
oh, I think you've got the quote down here. Is it Cully?
Yeah, I don't know if she listed the water station, but I think she just based it off of the 4 units. So we have the one kind of by the pond and the courts, and then we have the one by the gazebo, one by the playground, and then one by the back baseball fields.
There you go.
So besides that one, we want to keep the goose patrol. We have the gentleman that comes with the dogs that he gets the geese out of there. I don't know how he does it, but he's pretty good at it. And that hopefully will prevent, you know, the goose poop everywhere. Trash, we are contracted with McHugh Junk or McHugh Family Disposal, I guess they're called. So the price that I have on here is, I thought he had quoted me for the same as last year, which was 8 trash barrels and 2 recycle bins at the Commons. But apparently it wasn't the proper price, so that's the only one that would change on here, and it would go to $311 for 8 months, and that would, I think it increases that by like $152. So it would be $2,488 instead of $2,336. I did ask him to send me a quote without the recycle bins, and I haven't received it yet. Just because I was like last minute scrambling because it was a little bit higher. But after talking to a few people, I feel like we should keep the recycle bins down there just because we've never had them, and I think it was a good success this year. But worst case scenario, I could eliminate those and we could adjust. I'm sure it would be a little bit less than actually the $2,336. But and then the next one we have is Diamond Athletics. We used True Green in the past. This is the first, well, this year will be the first year that we're using them, and then we'd like to stick with that. He's local, he's been great so far. He actually did some stuff in addition with no cost, which was great in the fall. So the price here, the whole quote for next year is 22,000. I just got Kristen's thing.
I'll bring it up too.
I think it's 22.
Yeah, and we will have to get 3 quotes for it just because it is over the $10,000, but for the purposes of budgeting, and the fact that, you know, we do have a current contract with Diamond. This is the 15,275 for the summer fall, and then the spring 23,250 is the total on that one. You can see it down the bottom left.
So our portion, which last year when we presented to you, the soccer board as well as the baseball board were willing to contribute to that significantly. The baseball was gonna contribute 1,000, and with the previous quote, they were gonna contribute 8,000 from soccer. So I was trying to keep the percentages the same, so we are asking
Mm.
for, you know, about the same amount of percentage to cover the cost, and this is actually a little bit less than last year, so the 15,810 would be based on our percentage, and then the soccer would contribute, I think I broke it down to like 5,800 or 5,300, and then baseball would still do their 1,000.
So are these donations from those organizations? Or
Well,
how does that
we're
work?
all praying that the field project will be put forward and all these improvements will be great, and then the soccer will be willing to maintain and help us maintain that moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a year by year
Yeah,
commitment
exactly.
and is that just Berlin or is that the area soccer?
Just Berlin
Just Berlin?
Yep.
That's
in
significant.
baseball, and yeah,
That's very
it's
helpful.
nice, yeah.
Really, really helpful.
It's great. And then, so for equipment and supplies, I know last year we presented some stuff for the summer camp. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to handle that this year, so I didn't push for that this year. I would like to keep the playground mulch there as the $700, because last year, I think we've requested it every other year. And if we're redoing the playground, I really would like that to be available if needed. And then the MyRec software, I put in 2,000 because rec will cover, I believe it's 850 additional. The yearly fee is 2,850, and then rec revolving will cover the other 850. And then the irrigation, electricity, and maintenance, this was put forward last year, and because, like I said, with hopes that we'll get the field renovation started and hopefully completed maybe by the end of this year, we'll need that for fiscal year 2026.
So those are recurring and operating expenses as opposed to the overall construction
And I mean,
improvement project.
they could have gone up. This was kind of based off of the work that the soccer
Sure.
guys did and came up with, so I don't know if the quote could increase, but
Well, it's good to have the placeholder in
yeah,
the operational budget so
Right.
that we keep it in front of us.
Yeah,
just in case we need to do something.
that was one thing I liked about the project, is that it was a comprehensive approach,
Exactly,
as the
Kristen.
FinCom keeps pushing, justifiably so, that, you know, we don't have these ancillary
Yeah.
costs we haven't thought about on the back end, and then they're coming back
Mm.
for a reserve fund transfer. You know, we have everything built in upfront.
So I guess ultimately that 794 would change to 642 if I did my math correct.
Well, don't you worry, Jim will do that.
Well,
She'll take her red pen. to it.
did.
You'll get a right side up
Yeah.
stamp this time. Maybe, we'll see. All right, I think that's it. The rest were just the quotes and,
Did
Just
I
the
send you
payroll
you
breakdown.
one?
I think
Kristen? I
so.
think it was after the fact, but I wasn't sure if you.
I've got Diamond.
I have a copy of this
CSI.
anyway.
Oh, if you wanna, maybe you sent me the McHugh one, I can include it, but if you don't mind forwarding it to me.
Yeah, I'll
I can
sure.
upload
I
it
have
here.
this if you want a copy, but.
Perfect, all right.
Alicia, just a question, not about the numbers, but I thought somebody was hired for that rec position. Was I misinformed or did
No,
it not
nobody's in
work
that
out?
position. It didn't
Nobody's
work
in
out.
it?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, I've kind of absorbed the chair position
Mhm.
and that kind of stuff, but we were thinking about kind of changing the direction of the position and making it more of an administrative thing, because that's really the load that we want taken off so we can focus on more program stuff. But when I was talking to Kristen, I feel like, you know, the wage for it currently is pretty standard for an administrative position, even if we did change it. So I don't really think we'd have to change that, but I don't want to eliminate, you know, some of the qualifications, because
Mhm.
we're hoping this person potentially it could build to a more hour position, and I want them to be qualified to be able to do other stuff. I
Right.
guess,
Right.
moving forward. So, yeah, I mean, the sooner the better, but we've had a lot of distraction with other stuff and the holidays and things like that. So I've asked the board or the committee to kind of look over another job description from Boylston that I found for their
Mhm.
part-time,
I'm sorry, is this direct committee is looking at other job descriptions?
the rec committee. Yeah, we were
redefine
thinking
the,
about maybe changing the wording a little bit in the one that we currently have. Yeah. It was just asking for a lot in a little bit of time, so with the 10 hours, it's kind of really narrowed down the focus, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And then once that's amended, then it would just go back to the personnel committee for
Right.
approval for any changes to it. And then the position could be posted.
Mhm.
Curious, other than when the irrigation electricity, was that ever anything part of rec before paying electricity?
No, I think the scoreboard and stuff is
Yeah, it's
town,
just-
right?
yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
But the
And they-
well will have.
they kind of expect it'll be a separate, like, bill, I mean, metered versus, like, say, I just think is like, it's gonna be the same area, like with scoreboard and all that, or you could just putting a separate
Might
meter
be
in just for
something I have
that?
To relook at, because we have a couple of things like that. Relook at, but I wouldn't say for 26, probably 27.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to see, is it gonna be tied into the existing
Right.
electric down there, or is it, right, is it gonna get its own?
Like, so we would contribute to
Meter?
that or something like,
Well, I mean.
I don't know how that
We
works.
could move it over
Yeah.
to the electricity budget as opposed to having it in your.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering
Is that
exactly,
what you're
because there
getting
is
at?
stuff right down there and
Sure.
Yeah, let me,
It-
we'll look into it.
Yeah.
because otherwise you're gonna be estimating, they already estimate with all the other stuff and no, it's,
I think we just
Okay.
didn't want to miss a piece of the field
Right.
maintenance.
Yes.
That's all.
You'd like to relook at some of those so that way there isn't a delay in actually paying the bill, because that was some of the
Oh.
issues we were having before.
Gotcha.
so-
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point. So maybe what we want to do is just decrease it by 1,000 here and increase the electric bill by 1,000 if it's
Possibly,
gonna be
yes.
rolled in with the
Yeah.
other ones. So we'll have to
Yeah.
see how that all
Okay.
Plus that way
shakes
there,
out.
she wouldn't have to then
Deal with
take
it.
care of. put a-
Pay an electric
Bills,
bill?
That'd be great. That'd be great.
One less bill to do.
one other, or at least one question. Are you the rep for on the community preservation committee or somebody else in the rec committee
We're
doing that?
working on that. I haven't volunteered myself.
Okay, so that you haven't been participating in this,
No.
okay,
No.
then
No,
the
that's
question I
who
would
Tim's
have
communicating
makes,
with. I think
okay,
he's slowly digging at me, but I haven't committed to that one yet. We had a change in committee members, so it's, two of them are very new and they're doing a great job, but one of the members she's like ready to go, but she doesn't want to leave unless someone else comes on, so it's there's like 3 of us actively
Okay.
participating.
okay. No, I basically just came down to, is I had a
Yeah.
different question that I'm not gonna ask, because obviously we'll, without you.
Yeah, no, I
Participate.
haven't been to the
Okay.
meetings yet.
anybody
So I
else?
got, I got a little, small question, you probably, on the trash, McHugh.
Mhm.
I talked to him when he first started taking on Berlin business, and I've also talked to Stan over at the transfer station, but he doesn't tip anything here at our transfer station, and I'm not sure, I could be digging into something that's a little bit problematic, but the question that I put out is, why doesn't he tip the trash that he picks up in Berlin at our transfer station? And would that impact the cost to rec
Oh,
for
I
the
don't
trash
know.
pickup? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if the town gave him an honorary sticker for the South Commons,
I mean,
does that make
would be nice,
sense?
but I feel like he probably.
I don't know.
Has a contract somewhere. He does
He does such a large
so
amount.
much stuff, because they do like a junk disposal as well, like clean outs and all that stuff, so.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, well,
He always comes with a pretty good sized truck.
Yep,
And
yep,
then
yep.
leaves with that truck, so I don't know. It's a good-
I talked to him when he took over the route, because I
Yeah.
wanted the transfer station sticker, but that's not how he works, so.
Yeah, I
um,
don't know, I mean, I could ask him, but.
If you pause your question, the Board of Health
I-
will be
I
here.
know, I know.
So you're asking at the
So-
right
So
time.
There you go.
I'm geared up, so
You're
I'm
ready to
just
go.
warming up with Felicia, and
She's preparing herself, make sure she's got it all.
didn't
I'm
think
glad
that
I'm
you
the
would,
warm up, not later.
I was doubtful that you had information on that point, but I had to put it
No,
out there and
no.
ask.
Any other questions?
No. That's
No.
it.
Any questions for us?
I don't think so.
Very straightforward,
Yes.
very similar to
I
the
didn't change
last
much,
year.
yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
All right, thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for coming out.
Stop sharing the screen. Alright.
Who's up next?
Uh, Council on Aging and our new Council on Aging Director is here, Melissa Sargent. Let me pull up that budget.
Hi, Felicia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come forward.
You get to sit at the big table, yeah.
Your choice of chair.
Indeed.
I don't know if this group has met you yet,
I don't
Melissa, so.
think I
We met
so.
in Lincoln Carter.
You want to just introduce yourself?
I'm Melissa Sargent. I am the COA director. I have been here for about 2.5 months. So this is my first budget. So, hopefully I did everything good.
Excellent. All right, so let me do my thing here where I share my screen or Cliff has to remind me. Hold on.
I was waiting.
I knew you were. I hear you in my ear. All right, let's see.
So we had an original and a revised, right?
Correct. So if
Okay.
you pull up the one that's revised that was uploaded today, that
Okay.
would be the one. So we're adding $1
$1
to each of
each
the, these salaries for rounding purposes. So, okay, perfect. I will make a note of that. So, if you just want to walk us through your budget and any kind of changes, just.
Yeah, so basically, full-time wages will go down a little bit. I do not have social services as the previous director did, so my hourly rate is a little bit lower. The difference, though, I am requesting a little bit made back up on the part-time wages side for our van drivers. So while mine looks like I'm saving a lot of money, I will be taking some of that for the part-time wages. And then basically, my contracted services are increasing. One, because a lot of the programs, the yoga and the Tai Chi, they can ask us for an increase at any time. So I wanted to build that into the budget because they did go up a little bit from last year, about $10 a class. And then I also purchased a program that I have used previously in my Council on Aging experience. My senior center was not active. So that is about the $1,500
Sorry.
difference.
I messed it up because I hit download, so that's my fault. Sorry, hold on a second. There we go.
Excuse me, so that's the increase there. I did decrease the other services category. For me, that would be any new program funding. We're looking for musical guests, educational seminars, any additional exercise classes. That is basically what we would use that money for. Office supplies, I did put back in the budget. They took it away last year, but I felt like I needed some money in there.
You want your own pencils and paper.
Yeah.
An envelope or two.
Although I am pretty picky, so I typically buy my own, but and then gasoline for the van, I kept the same. We may make some of that up as well. Just I don't know if you're aware, we are not running the van right now. We are looking for a driver or two. So
If you
that
know
might,
anyone.
if anybody wants to volunteer.
It's gonna be less busy.
Oh.
Get paid for this.
Is that part of you're looking to increase the wages to entice
Yes.
getting somebody? Okay.
Yes, we're trying to keep it below the 20 hours, so we have two part-time positions.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that'll hopefully, if we have to raise it, then we would have a little bit money, if we need to.
And gas is a little less expensive now, so.
Yeah. And then just for my other expenses, I just wanted to remove it from other expenses and just kind of mark it as program supplies. My goal is to bring more programs in. So with that, there is a summer barbecue. We're starting from scratch. We don't have plates, napkins, cups, any decor. So that would be included in that. We're starting Veterans Breakfast, which hasn't been held before here. So again, it's just a food and snack and supplies for anything that we would be running for the programs.
And one of the things I asked Melissa to do, I don't like kind of the blanket other expenses or supplies. I like to know where that money is actually going to, because I feel like otherwise it looks like the slush fund. For just, we'll pull out of here whatever we need that we didn't think of to cover. So I did ask if she would, more appropriately allocate that to a specific line item within the expenses.
And then I missed two. The travel is our Meals on Wheels mileage. Right now we only have one Meal on Wheel volunteer claiming the mileage. But if the second one does want to claim it and start claiming it, then we would have the available funds for that. And then the MCOA membership is the Massachusetts Council on Aging. And that is just our membership fee to be part of the Council on Aging. So it's gone up from last year, but my request is the same because I just moved money. So we didn't actually have an increase in the budget.
And I'll show you where that breaks down for the van drivers. Let me rotate this, not upside down, so that you can see it. So they're both to be determined positions at this time. And you're gonna do one at 19 and one at 16, hopefully.
Hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the rate of pay for 26 would be $18.57. And did do some looking around, and that is that's pretty
It
much
is
in
pretty
the
comparable.
range of
Yeah.
what other COAs are paying. So I think it's more just the lack of interest, not that it's a salary issue.
So how many days are you trying to cover every day of the week now, or?
I would like to. I think there is a need there, and I feel we haven't been very good in the past of keeping a schedule. So I think people have kind of given up on calling us for rides.
Mhm.
And I think if we could firm up 2 people to work and cover the 35 hours a week, then we would definitely see an increase in participation. So I would like that.
And are the hours changing every day, or can you get?
No, so I would put into place like an 8 to 2, like first pickup is 8 a.m. You have to have all appointments are back by, 2 o'clock, and whatever we could fit in there. My previous experience in Clinton is they have certain days. So Mondays we would do Highland Commons, Tuesdays we would do Marlboro medical appointments. When you get people into that routine, it's exactly that. It's a routine, and they'll know that they can call on Friday and get to their doctor on Tuesday or go grocery shopping on Wednesday. And then it just makes it easier for them to make those calls as well. So then I think the need would definitely pick up once they get acclimated to when they have to call and what their schedule would be.
It's a little bit of trial and error
Yeah.
right now, and
Yes.
growth and
Yeah.
regrowing. And, I think a lot of it that Melissa has been doing is outreach to all of the community organizations to kind of see what the need is out there, not only from the residents, but what are the other groups in our community providing, so that you can see where the gaps in services are and we can avoid any duplication of efforts. So I think it's very much been a research stage, and we're building slowly, which I think is a smart way to go.
Yep, we had that 19 Carter discussion on the van
We
driver.
did.
We did.
That's just.
You haven't changed your mind. You don't want to drive.
Not today.
Good question. You mentioned that you don't have the social services piece, or what exactly not there, or what's?
So I don't have the actual degree in social services.
Oh, okay.
Which would-
Okay, it's the degree, not the
Not the job
services you're
itself. I can
providing.
provide
Okay.
the same services. I just don't have the degree piece that
Okay.
would get me a bump up in, in my pay.
Right,
So-
and before it was a split position, it was 19 and 21 hours, I believe it was 19 COA and 21 social services funded out of ARPA. But obviously the ARPA funding is coming to a close. This past fiscal year was the last year that we had ARPA funding actually budgeted for social services. So if you remember, we did put that money into the budget. I spent a lot of time with the Council on Aging from this summer into the fall, from between our two directors, trying to come up with a really solid job description and really assess what the needs are for the position. I genuinely believe it's a 40-hour-a-week position. The Personnel Committee wanted to start slowly with 24 hours, but leave the funding in the budget to be able to potentially ramp up once there is a demonstrated need. You beat me to it, I was. And I think the last is just the narrative you just gave, and that's it.
Right. Any questions? Cliff?
No, I'm paying attention. I'm not sleeping.
The symbiotic voice from beyond.
Yes.
That's so odd. He's right.
All right, we're all set.
Mhm.
Right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Melissa.
I believe we have Board of Health. Let me get their documents pulled up.
Come forward.
Hello, friends.
Hello.
And former, this team.
Paul McCullough, Old Townie, how are you?
Hey, I've been called for a second.
Oh, no. Plus, then you'd have to post it. Because there'd be two of them. So it all works out better.
That's why this is my last FinCom meeting.
I just said.
I take it all back.
To FinCom.
If
You want to
you
be
have,
appointed to the thing.
you have two people in quorum
When
when you're discussing things.
Okay.
I'll give you
The
this.
discussion is deliberation.
We've never voted on
We
anything.
want to hear
It
you.
doesn't even have to be,
Yeah.
food, it's discussion
Everyone.
with more than one member.
I'm retiring. So this is the last time you'll have to face me.
We will have the pleasure of your
That's-
company is the way you're supposed to say that.
Well, we will miss you. Thanks for the time you put in.
Which budget would you like to start with? And I will put it on the big screen.
Animals inspector,
Okay, which number is that? Remind me. Department.
249.
Thank you. Sorry, I have a lot of budgets in here.
Sure you do.
240. No, I'm going the wrong way. 249. All
Oh,
right.
they're in there by number. Look at that.
Oh, that's all June. Give me just a minute.
It would be numbers. It would be June.
All right. Cliff, can you still see?
Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, wonderful.
What do you got him in the wastebasket over there?
If you look up at the TV.
It's in the ceiling.
clouds.
Yeah, you never look.
A little bit of the red.
Disembodied voice from beyond.
red shirt.
They
Okay,
like to
animal-
refer to me as the Great Oz.
Oh, that's quite appropriate. I like that.
Okay, animal inspector, we did a 2% COLA.
As instructed.
As instructed, we don't get to play, we just don't know where that money goes, but it goes somewhere.
And level it on the expenses.
And next we should go to 511. Department 511, Neshoba Health. This one gets interesting. Last year, we budgeted 7.5%. And the bill came in at 10%. So we've been running out of, they don't send us the assessment until,
After with this process.
yes.
Yeah, well, the state's like that too. Just get in line with that. It's a hard process.
And my crystal ball is just really foggy right
Mhm.
now. So this year we decided to budget 15%. And then they came in with their assessment and it's down to 10%. So it's not that we don't know what we're doing, it's
Yeah.
just that.
Yeah.
Sorry, and I pulled up the old one, not the revised
Oh.
one. So I think Neshoba must have heard the same message from other communities when they went up after budgets had been set by the towns. So what was it, 2 weeks ago, or so? 3
Yeah, it
weeks
wasn't
ago?
that long ago, but we had, I keep telling him. Right after the turkey, we have to turn in our budgets. And, by the time they get around to it, it's too late. So we thought this time we would better off to budget forecast high and see where they land, because I still have to stand up in front of town meeting and get whipped for the
Yeah.
shortfall I have this year.
No, we'll work that out, yeah. So this is the revised budget based on the assessment letters that were sent out a couple of weeks ago from Neshoba that reflect a 10% increase, but it
Yes.
looks like more because last year's budget was based on a 7.5% increase. So it actually looks like a 12.5 or 0.6% increase, but it's not really.
And the assessment letter was attached to the.
Touch the other one. I figured the nursing one.
Yep.
Okay.
And the nursing budget is 522, very good.
Yeah. Now these are all in a row, so don't give me too much credit.
And it's the same deal. We budgeted 15 and it came in at 10. I actually like it when they come in less, other than I come in front of the finance committee and I look like I don't know what I'm doing.
We're a smaller group than town meeting, so that's, it's a little better place to do it.
And you don't have whips.
No.
1.6.
Not a lot, bring those to town meeting.
Okay. And then we would go to Department 510, Board of Health. And it's not really a whole lot of fancy there. We're asking for an additional $83.
Oh, geez.
And all right, Donna, you must buy one sticky pad less. It's really, salaries. I let Donna buy,
Didn't I cut something?
you did.
Okay.
Do I not have the right one up?
No,
Oh,
you
okay.
do. I just
think
told her
you
she
do.
couldn't spend that much in office supplies.
And then postage is good.
I have an extra sticky pad you can have. I'll send it your way.
I bought the envelopes already.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
She knows where they are. And then
So it looks like you're just going up by the 2% on the elected salaries as well as the part-time wages. And then your expenses are actually going down by.
I told you.
$100
I cut hers.
because of the post-its. I got it.
That's right.
All right. So for a total increase of. Let me just see if I've got, 2% COLA. Anything else in here? Oh, these are just how the salaries work out. Those are your elected official salaries. And those would be obviously the elected Board of Health members. And then your administrative assistant to the Board of Health and the transfer station. Although this is just the Board of Health side. And that's it, I think.
Yep.
That's just the last couple of years budget numbers. Can flip it around in case you guys have any questions.
Anybody?
No,
No,
looks pretty good.
nothing here.
Looks good.
All right.
And last, 433.
That's true.
That's where all the meat is.
Hey, careful now.
Suck it in.
Come by this honestly, you know.
I would like to start off with, we had our inspection from the DEP of the transfer station. And we came through with flying colors. They could not find a single negative thing on their report.
You get the gold star for the month.
But it cost $5,000 for some guy to walk through.
That's all right. If it was a good one.
That's right, that's all. that matters.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna get away with the same gold stars when they do the inspection of the landfill. Yeah. It's gonna be some big bucks probably just starting off with monitoring wells. And it's like we and the board going forward without me are paying for the sins that were done 40 years ago.
Right. So for those of you who aren't on Capitol or did not attend the select board meeting where this was discussed, Paul McKelk was notified by the DEP that they're playing catch up on some paperwork and reaching out to communities where they need some compliance certifications on landfills. And so it requires us to hire a consultant. They go in, they assess what needs to be done. It likely involves things like monitoring wells and testing. And so my understanding is Paul came before Capitol and kind of alerted the committee to the fact that there may be a capital request depending on the findings of that initial investigation and what, if any, compliance activities DEP is going to require. Say that
And it's a
right?
good thing I keep them on a tight leash, just so that I had the cash to pay for
Yeah.
the transfer station inspection.
And he beat the consultant up too. He did good.
And then now we have the landfill inspection coming up next.
So that is definitely going to be an ongoing, that's a preview of coming
Topic.
attractions. Yeah.
But we did really good the first part, so.
So I'll take that as a win.
Okay, this gets a little complicated.
She did have a revised.
Oh,
one.
did I not put up the right one?
Don't think I sent it over because I was waiting for your reply on something.
Oh, okay.
So she made the walk.
Okay, you may have to walk us through this a little bit, Sue, because I
Okay.
may have a older
Yeah.
version.
Well, we're gonna talk with, where it gets tricky is with the salary expenses. The 331, that differs from my numbers, I don't know.
It does
how.
because you have the revised ones that you just gave.
Oh,
me,
okay.
and I didn't get it to Christina.
But we're also adding an additional 10 hours into the part-time wages for Donna, because I'm leaving. Hopefully we'll have a new Board of Health member. And I think I've got somebody all kind of roped in, so he'll run for. Don't look so surprised. There are not people just standing in line and say, I want to be on the Board of Health.
Don't advertise your skills. You might get recruited for this income.
No, I made my husband, well, they don't meet as often. I was been in the Board of Health office pretty much every week. 50, and I've been doing this for 12 years. I promised my husband. I spend time at the cottage. I may come back here just for sanity. But anyways, we're trying to give Donna an additional 10 hours because I won't be there. More of the loads on her. People who are trying to get their arms around all these expenses and stuff are trying to create this more spreadsheet use, and there's only so many spreadsheets you can enter into in the course of the day, as well as the receipts, doing all the deposits for all the sticker sales. We're also taking credit cards now at the transfer station. So each thing is a layer of paperwork that has to be monitored and tracked. And she's very good at that, but takes more time. We're also looking into a pay-as-you-throw. You know, you guys know what that is? It's where bags would be sold around town. And you could only throw trash away in a yellow, purple, whatever colored bag versus just your own garbage bag. And that would reduce the cost of stickers and kind of do an equity across the board. So the little old lady who comes in with her one bag of trash would only have to buy one bag for whatever. There are also people who come in with truckloads. I mean, we don't know if they're collecting trash from the neighborhood or what.
There are some people that share.
So by doing a pay-as-you-throw, it'd be more, and we're spreading the equity. Did I say that right, Ken?
It would definitely make it more equitable. That is correct.
Can I jump in for 1 second and go just back to the 10 hours? Because I know there might be a question on that. The good news is we sat down and met, and they are all transfer station related hours. They can come out of the revolving fund. They do that way. They will not touch the general fund or the operating budget. So the revolving fund for rec has done quite well in its very first year. It's at about $143,000 in revenue and about $75,000 in expenses. So there's certainly enough to cover the extra 10 hours.
This is the transfer station. The number you just gave are the transfer station revolving.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody was kind of nervous the first year, and I said, it's really just more of a mindset and how you look at it. You can't spend the money until you get the money. Right, so.
But I mean, it
And-
sounds like we're right on. I mean, we're.
And Stan, you come down the transfer station and, he's watching you, what you throw away, if he can write you out. And
So
so,
you- So you're able to do by credit card now, because I remember last year you mentioned that, and I've gone, I cannot get a good cell connection when at the transfer station. If I'm leaving from there to go someplace,
Mhm.
it's like a dead zone.
Yeah, so
So
we have satellite.
Yeah, we
you had to have
Whereas-
a satellite to do it. Okay.
thanks to our town administrator,
And we
we
have
now have
internet.
internet
Yeah.
at
Internet,
the transfer
yes.
station.
Okay.
No,
Well, that explains it.
So what it does though is we have to add the fee on to the, so is it because
It-
towns are not
the
allowed to
unifying-
charge the fee, or
Nope,
is it
the
just? that
fee
we
is
choose
actually
to-
the bank.
Yep.
That has nothing to do with the town, doesn't come to us. That is a fee that the bank puts on as a processing fee for using the
Gotcha.
card.
Which is more paperwork and tracking.
Yes. The convenience for the
Yeah,
customer
I
is
mean,
not necessarily a convenience for the.
90% of people hear that and say, oh, I'll get a check, don't worry. Most people are very used to having their credit card be absorbed, their fees being absorbed by their credit card and not have to pay on top of what they do. So they're not very excited about paying the extra, but
do the electronic funds transfer.
yeah.
And then
right.
there's no fee.
Right.
Oh, wait, so if you use your debit card through your
It's like
bank?
50
No,
cents,
it's
isn't it?
account, if you have your routing and
your
your
routing.
checking.
Yeah, I have
Number.
it promoted.
Then there's no fee.
Transit number and then
Yep,
your account
okay.
number.
Right.
Yep.
It's the same exact setup as at the tax collector.
Mhm.
So it goes.
It's from
It's a
like
sliding
0 to
scale.
$100, 100 to 300 to 4, up to
Yeah.
500, and then. But if you use a Visa debit, it's a flat fee. So I mean, it's a convenience is what it is, and we don't do a ton of it. We probably do 2 or 3 transactions a week. But and I think it will slowly catch on more. I mean, people have purchased their stickers before by having to go get a bank check because they just don't physically have checks anymore. So I think probably some of those people will start doing it that way, but to be determined. And I just think it'll just kind of start to catch on, especially as we charge for more items that go into things like the open top.
It's progress.
It is.
Yeah.
And it has to integrate with our existing system that we have set up for the town. So that's why it's exactly the same as it is for the treasurer collector with the fees and everything.
Makes sense.
You should have seen Paul and Stan and I installing
Oh, yeah.
satellite.
Up on the roof,
up on the
adjusting
top of the roof
adjusting
of
the
transfer
dish. Yeah.
station.
It was fun.
Elon's proud. Good job.
Yeah, not
It's like,
Excited about
and it's progress.
Yeah.
We're moving forward.
Yeah, and that's really inexpensive. I mean, what did we figure out was gonna be $15,000 or $20,000 to run the cabling from Charter to bring internet to
Nice
the
to know what we
transfer
got.
station, and then about $600 a month for the service, just to be able to have internet, to be able to do credit cards and use a computer and such. Starlink is $140 a month, and I believe it was 600 to set it up. So,
And we looked at Verizon, Charter. I mean, we looked at a bunch of possible solutions to do this. And Starlink was the best. We tested it out. We had somebody in town, brought down his equipment.
Mhm.
We sat at the transfer station, plugged it in, made a phone call via the satellite, so we knew it would work. Then it was just a matter of convincing the town that this is something we should do.
well, it required us getting a town credit card. Which-
Up in the world.
Which
Correct.
we
That is
don't have
very
anything to do with.
rigorously managed with a policy and an extensive procedure for how to use it. But yes, they don't actually have a phone number for Starlink. Everything is done over email. They won't invoice. It all has to be charged to a card because it's all electronic, online, new tech. We don't want to talk to you because, you know, Gen Z doesn't talk to anybody on the phone. So that was quite a thing to get set up, but we got there.
So it was another big thing we did this year. So that's, do you have any questions regarding the payroll question?
Do you want me to go down to that actual sheet so you can see it broken out?
Well, you don't have the right one.
Oh, well, then I take it back. It's not gonna be very helpful. I was gonna say the other ones would be correct though for the other.
For the other part of it, yeah.
But there's no additional hours. It's just COLA and the same hours.
Well,
There, right.
it's, the regular part is just the COLA. And it was 10 hours that Dawn
Oh,
was
so,
doing.
so is it 10 and
Because-
10?
Yeah,
No, 14 and 6.
As far as the.
you can only work 20 hours a week, so
Right, right,
6, but we added 10 for the additional 10
right.
Right.
So
to the
14.
transfer station.
Got it.
Because the majority of the work is the
Right.
transfer station.
Right. But that's per week or per month or per week?
Right, and I'm waiving medical.
So when you have
Because I don't need
on
medical.
this end.
Yeah.
Got it.
I don't either.
I get through the town of Lancaster for life.
Oh, nice.
I'm retired from there.
All right, want me to do your expenses here?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can,
they-
but the biggest piece, and I believe we gave you a copy of that, is we have new hauling rates. For BP.
Yes, here they are.
Yeah.
I've got them.
So they went up. In January, they're going up again in July. We had to ask them because they came in with a schedule and said, yeah, but our budget doesn't start until July. You know, you can't just, they're another one. Oh, we'll raise your prices next month, problem. And so we had to push back and we asked them to restructure it. So the rates are going up.
It goes up by the ton, that adds up quickly though.
That's true. I was thinking it was going from 125 to 170 when I looked at it quickly, went, oh my goodness, that's a huge increase, but
Yeah,
that's per ton
right.
versus per haul.
Yeah.
Got it.
Which is why we really try to maximize the haul. I mean, we try to, I mean, that's why the compactors, we really try to maximize the loads before they get hauled away.
Mark.
Because it's both
And the
tonnage, yes.
more people use the take it or leave it, they recycle, they throw their tin cans in the steel bin. You know, all of those things help.
So we're still getting a credit for cardboard.
It depends on the month.
A
I mean, I
week,
think
it
right
has
now,
been
I think
consistent.
now it's a pay though, isn't it?
No,
No,
it's
it's
been
still a credit now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's starting to even out. I think you used to see it, it used to be seasonal. With there used to be a glut after Christmas, and so you would
Yeah.
pay to get rid of cardboard, and then it would kind of flip. but I think it's starting to level out a little bit more, and I think we're actually getting
Last year, we've been getting the credit.
pretty much right through.
There was
Yeah.
one year we got nothing and then we started getting them.
Steel,
Yeah, so we get money from metal
cardboard,
and the cloth,
Textile.
the MRK, the textiles.
are like market price.
Yeah.
Think of filet mignon.
Yeah, we don't get much of the textile.
Lobster.
No, but it's still something.
something.
But it always, the price fluctuates, so, you know, we can sit here today and come up with a guess of what we might think it'll be 6 months from now, but you don't know, it all depends on the market price.
Electronics disposal.
Don't worry, we got Peg on.
I think the textile is a newer sector of recycling. I think as that catches on more, you may see
We
more
hope so.
textile recycling.
Yeah. I mean, we'd like to do a little bit more education, but people, you know, we've been telling people no straws in the plastic now for 2-3 years. We do it anyway.
Good luck, yeah.
We put big
Pictures now.
pictures and examples up.
So the graphics at the transfer station
Yeah.
are great.
The issue you have on that, I can just tell you this for my own household is usually one member of the household actually goes to the transfer station. The rest of the members of the household have no idea how things should be separated. We even have our own bin. We have visitors come. If they just came from Dunkin' Donuts, oh, it's plastic, and the whole thing goes with the straws, and I'll be dumping there and going, oh, there.
Well, that's why it's my job to make
Yeah.
your life miserable when you come in town. That you then go back and train the people that.
Oh, that's-
Because it's amazing how it's never, ever the person who comes to the transfer station. It's never their fault. Ever. Oh, the wife threw that in. Oh, the kids, they don't know what they're doing.
I can vouch for that. That is the case.
Maybe you need to create like magnets that can, or stickers that.
We're gonna
that
work
go
on
on
something.
bins
Let's put it that way, yeah.
At home, in people's homes.
The transfer station, my goodness.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
they're crying after Stan.
Probably, yeah. That's pretty much the rumor is that it's pretty hard on people down there.
He's there for that
Yeah,
reason.
Pretty hard on folks down there.
The rest is
What did the ND stand for on next to it?
That's non-discretionary.
yes.
Oh, okay,
And some things
right.
we have no control if you throw out. You change every light bulb in your house. When the town decided to change all the light bulbs, I got this huge amount of light bulbs. You should have seen the bill that year.
Mhm.
Just bring him to the transfer station.
Yeah, but we had no idea any of that was coming, you know, and so
It wasn't me.
it wasn't in the budget. So I mean, stuff like that happens. And we just have to either, you know, suck it up or figure out. I mean, basically our expenses don't really, other than BP, it's the big piece. I have to break something up to show you guys.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
And the printing's gone down because we found other vendors.
so we have been doing everything we can to reduce our expenses. And
But all the disposal costs are up. Noticeably up, aren't they?
Do you have a different porta potty than the recreation? Because theirs is going up and yours is
Oh,
flat.
yeah, we changed vendors with that
We
too.
did change vendors on that.
Oh, yeah.
We
Maybe
just-
we looked at porta potties, you know, paper.
Maybe it should be a coordination between the two departments to.
Well, that's an overture right there for Miss Mary.
Yeah. Probably, it was a long time. I talked to you about the fellow, is it Jim McHugh, who's picked up the route in Berlin.
Oh,
a few
yeah.
Years back,
Yeah,
and whether he'd be interested in doing any kind of arrangement so that we would see the benefit of the stickers,
oh, okay.
right? But and Rec was just in here and he's picking up their trash.
Correct, okay.
And his cost just went up. So I said, gee, I wonder what would happen if he was tipping at our transfer station,
Mhm.
the costs. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah,
It's
but
a- It's a
I mean,
town.
that's how it, sure, and that's how it had been for years with Carl Matthews and with Phil.
Phil,
when-
yep.
And so, and that was our big transition this last year is that we lost all of those stickers. And presumably lost all of the waste to go along with them, but that's not a one-for-one thing because those customers tend to be the smaller little one bin one bag of trash people because that's the ones who then they don't have to pay extra through the trash hauling service. And we get the ones that are the pickup trucks full of trash. So, but I think it's worked out. I mean, I think I think the revenue and the expenses have, as you said, with the revolving, I mean, it seems to be holding that we're pretty much on track to have the proper amount of income for the amount of expenses that we have. So that's why the whole pay as you throw thing would be a real try to figure out how to,
Well, actually,
what the cost to do a
Right.
business is.
yeah, the DEP is working on that.
Right.
And
they-
Donna's been collecting.
And they have towns that obviously have gone through this
Yeah.
and have lots of information and,
Yeah.
but everyone's different.
They're in a deficit and they have to pay.
Yeah,
Also, that's
right.
why they're not making money, so.
So I mean, you have
They
to
get a
try to
lot.
decide, is the
Right.
average household 2 bags a week and so you try to make, so you change the sticker price to 100 and then you charge $1 per bag to make it about even. So, but that only satisfies that one sliver in the middle, and that's the people who are doing that. Then the people who do far less are gonna make out because their stickers still half price and they're gonna do far fewer bags. But now the people who are bringing in pickup trucks full are gonna pay closer to self-hauling rate or pickup rates. And are those people then gonna drop the transfer station because it's gonna get too expensive? So that's there were, and there would be huge pushback
Yes.
going to pay as you throw.
Yep.
It would really, I mean, there would be a lot of unhappy campers. Because people are very used to just being able to roll in there with pretty much anything in their truck and whip it in. And just say, it comes from my house, it's household trash. Yeah.
Well, they can put a 4-bag limit per week.
Right,
or
so
whatever.
there's other things you can do. I mean,
But
right.
that means that we need another set of eyes.
Oh,
because
sure.
People
More
are
monitoring.
sneaky.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
yeah.
come in on a Wednesday and Thursday. Hey, Stan, and
Over here, yes.
and there's another person over there dumping
Right, throwing
stuff while they're
something in.
keeping Stan occupied. Honest to God, I've seen it happen.
It's my favorite thing.
And then, you know, looking forward to the page, go, the cost of production of the bags.
Right.
And then where I know I've worked in Sudbury before at a grocery store where Sudbury and Wayland people could purchase their bags.
Right, so
there.
where do we have them at
Is
the
there,
store?
is there a fee that you pay to?
Not
the
not generally.
merchant
Merchant
does-
usually are willing to do it because it brings people into their business. Usually, because it's basically added traffic for them generally, is because now there are people who are coming to buy their bags that weren't necessarily their customers before. So especially with us, because we basically would only have the center store, Market Basket. We don't have a ton of businesses, so now you'd have another 800 people, not all of them who don't ever use those places, but maybe, 40 of those people always go to Stop and Shop and never go to Market Basket. Well, now if they have to go to Market Basket to buy their bags, maybe they're gonna buy some of their groceries there, so.
But
Makes
even like Bolton, you can only buy them at the transfer station.
And so I would assume we would
Right.
also sell them at the transfer station, but then that's a
Probably
staffing issue
here
too.
At some point.
That's
too,
right.
Right.
Yeah.
when I'm in office,
So,
but
but we've
There's-
met with
there's
the
a lot.
DEP to
Right.
listen
A lot of
to
moving
their
parts.
Yeah.
proposal. They really.
They
very-
push it extensively.
Yes, they're
For them,
very
it's the
gung-ho.
waste.
I went in with an
reduction
open
thing.
mind.
yeah.
So we're just in the listening stage.
Do
right
they have a reason for pushing it?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
So the big thing is when a lot of towns that don't do very well with their recycling, it makes people pull the recycling out of their trash. For us, I think people are pretty good about that. And there are definitely people, I mean, I'll hear those bags go in the container and I'll hear bottles clanking through and I mean, you see bags rip open and cans and everything else spill out. So we do have a certain amount of folks who don't recycle and just think that this stuff doesn't get recycled, so why should I bother? But the bigger thing for us, I think, would be the food scrap, because they have done extensive analysis of what's in the trash. And I believe she told us 35% of trash is organics.
Something like that.
So if folks were not having to pay to get rid of their organics by eliminating it from their trash stream. So their big thing is all about waste reduction, and they have statistics that show when communities have gone on this page you throw, there's far less tonnage being hauled away. And there's also fewer car trips because they've actually found that folks make fewer trips when they have less trash. It's
Non-stinky.
and
trash.
non-stinky trash, so they can maybe go 2 weeks instead of going 1 week. So yeah, it's very much a waste reduction
Interesting.
And transfer station sells composters
Yep.
and we reduced the price. So
Yes,
come
we
on
did.
down and buy a new
It's a little
composter.
commercial for the day, for the
Mhm.
evening. But yeah, so I mean, we're fortunate that we have a,
So into the
people have
camera,
land.
where's the camera?
Yeah. And
The
we
red tone.
we already encourage people to compost, but I think everyone knows that if there's gonna be a certain amount of people that don't do it, but if you now start paying, if they can eliminate a bag of trash
Mhm.
per, one per week or one every other week, they'll do the math, they'll figure it out. So there's reasons to do it for sure, but there would be a lot of pushback.
Yeah.
But for us, it's really more about the equity thing. I personally just am not excited about somebody who comes in with their one bag of trash paying the same thing as
Right.
the person who comes in with their pickup truck load. I just don't think that's fair.
Makes sense.
So,
Any questions? I know you look at us for entertainment, but.
that's also why they bring
That's an
me.
added
Yeah, it's
benefit.
also why they bring me.
I'm sure Stan could probably give a lot of stories to be entertainment.
Oh, yep, I sure could.
I don't think we need to go down
It would
out
be a
there.
lot better
Yeah.
if Stan was here at 9, but.
Yeah, and
Stand-
it would have been the days.
Stand after
They-
dark.
they have-
Yeah. We're gonna get an off-air show, stand off-air show.
And
All the
Cliff,
swearing.
any questions?
Nope, I'm all
right.
set.
Hey, Stan.
And a good transfer station user you are, yes, yes, Mary.
Go ahead. The hazard waste is good news, though. Why is that down?
Because we don't have anybody to do it.
So it's
we
not
just,
happening.
it's just not happening. We don't budget for it because we can't find a vendor to come and do it.
And if we join Devon's, that would cost.
Oh.
Well, I think
Is that right?
I talked to you about this a year or so ago, because I do oil painting. So I take anything that I do with oil painting goes into a special trash receptacle, because I don't even let any of it go down our drains.
Hmm.
Very contained, and then every 6 months I drive down the Sutton,
That's the place.
and it actually doesn't cost me that
I was
much.
gonna say, I was gonna ask you, so how much do you pay to,
I can't remember, I think the last time I did it,
because that would be good information for me to be able to tell people,
I
so,
think the last time I paid more because some of it I had was liquid
okay,
stuff, and liquid stuff's heavier, so I think it may have been like $80.
for how much?
So it
Maybe-
was a red can, like this big, and a
Like
couple
maybe
of
five,
jugs.
you think like 5-6 gallons?
No, more like 2 or 3, but it's really they're really heavy, because I try to take all the liquid,
So,
try to
yeah,
get it down to like to the more gooky solid. But yeah, I have to keep all that out of
mhm,
my
Household trash.
household trash, and also because we're on a private water system, I can't let any of it go down the drain.
sure,
So I do all the cleaning. All that liquid
Mhm.
it goes into a tub, and then it gets
you
dirty and goes
evaporate it.
into a jug. But
so oil-based and water-based, are you? 'cause you're
yes,
careful about
oil
your
and,
water-based, too.
yeah, and I really like try to keep it down to, I got very efficient at cleaning.
Yeah, that's,
Uh,
and that's what, I mean, if it's costing you money to not be efficient, Pete, you will be efficient, right?
yeah, but it was interesting even trying to find out how to do it,
Yeah,
because a lot of people just put it down the drain.
well, sure, and I guarantee you a lot of people are putting it in their black trash bags too, and just, there's gonna be a fair amount of that, and unfortunately, it happens, but.
But there are not a lot of companies that even have openings to,
Mhm.
they're willing to come out for a small town like
Right.
Berlin.
Mhm.
So we pay like a minimum of 4,700, 5,000.
Mhm.
And then if we might get 10 or 15 customers. And even if we charge the customers, it's always just a
It'll-
huge money.
It'll cost us money to do it. There's been a fair amount of interest in it. People, it's been several years, and the
Mhm.
place in Sutton is the one that has come and done it here for us,
Mhm.
but they stopped during COVID and.
But when I go down there, they come out to the car, they separate at the car, because I've taken other
Mhm.
stuff for people too when I've done the run, and it's very fast.
Because I have not gotten any feedback from anybody. I've sent, 24
Mm.
people down there, but I've never gotten any feedback, so it's good to know.
So what used to be done in the past was like.
We've
these
had like a
alternate waste
one,
days.
yeah, right, exactly, a
Okay.
once a year day kind of thing.
We to safe store it and have it all done at once.
Yeah,
Or partner with a neighboring community, maybe?
it's possible, we've Marlboro does it, and Marlboro Hudson does it, that we're gonna, talk to the woman who came and spoke with us, Irene, is gonna put us in touch with them, but I mean, that's kind of what the idea is behind the Devon's thing, it's just that it's a huge buy-in, and then it's like the Starlink versus the, it's a huge, it's several $1,000s just to
We
belong
stopped
to it.
doing it in my former
Yeah.
community because it's like, it was almost $5,000.
Yeah.
It's usually like
Yeah.
Clean Harbors that comes out and does it for the one day, and the
Yeah.
amount of materials that they were getting. It was
Didn't
like
justify. it.
paled in comparison to the $5,000 that you have to shell out to have.
Yeah.
it
I think
there.
another thing that changed too that I've noticed from when I was first a homeowner is that many more of the products that used to be oil-based
Or no, water-based.
have now
Well,
gone
yeah,
to
they-
water-based,
yeah.
so they're actually easier to get rid of by other methods.
Right.
Where before you would have these unidentifiable.
Yeah, I mean, you can add kitty litter.
There's
and
fewer
sawdust
organic solvents,
or
it's
just
more
let it go.
water-based solvents. these
Yeah.
days. A major reformulation went on for decades.
Yeah.
That-
There you have it.
All right, we all set?
Thank you.
Right.
Indeed.
Thank you.
I like you're wearing your pride. That's good.
Yeah.
And I've got my.
Oh, and the rest of the pride.
Gone backwards or inside out.
Yeah, he's gonna need one of those. That would be-
I don't know, is it in the budget?
Probably not.
Can you
I
move
don't
some
know.
more sticky notes out of?
Stan can have a clean shirt.
Stan.
And keep presentable. Yeah, please.
Sorry, Donna. I'm
Yeah.
really beating up on you now.
No.
Well, I go to the Hillary sometimes and hate stuff.
There you go.
Hey, thanks for the 12 years, Sue.
You're welcome.
It's been fun. We sitting on this side. I don't know if it's sitting on that side.
Oh, it's been fun for us too. For my 2
Yeah,
years.
but I got him.
Mhm.
See, so.
I'm her going away present to y'all.
Well. She's gonna make us look good.
Here's your best side, Stan. Keep it up. See ya.
We have no transfers, right? Nothing. I did not look at my email at all today, so
But I have something really fun and exciting for you if you guys want to hang on a little longer.
sure.
Would you like to see where the budget stands right
Yeah,
now?
yeah. Okay, I thought you said fun.
No, no. The select board got a preview of it Monday night, and unfortunately, the only good news you get is my smile. I'll just start, I started in kind of reverse with the select board. Which, oh yeah, but it does have my comments on it, but I don't think there's anything too strange, so let me.
No names.
No names, nothing odd, no comments like, what the heck is this? But if you see one, don't hold it against me. Share. And this is in the drive to, Cliff, if you need to pull it up, but I am gonna share it, so. It is in the budget FY 26. It is loose in there. It is it is called FY 26 budget draft 129, because I made a couple little tweaks today. So you are getting something a little bit more special than, yeah, and Peg's not happy about that, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later. All right, so I'm gonna do this gonna go from general overview to getting a little bit more in details here. So the first thing I need to say is this includes assumptions at this point, because we don't have local receipts yet. So what I did was I did a 2.5% based off of last year's levy limit and the 2.5% that we can take, which brings us, if we just stay at that number and we don't tap into excess levy, to 15,505,045 in local property taxes. New growth, I have spoken with the assessor. It's really down, and I'll show you on the next spreadsheet. She's not comfortable with me estimating any more than $200,000. We have complete stagnation of residential, commercial, industrial growth, unfortunately.
I have a quick question. Is
Yep.
is the 2.5% you did off of last year's levy or levy limit? I'm assuming you went off what the actual levy was, right?
Did I do it on the wrong line?
Well, you, that was the word you said. I just want to make sure you had said limit.
Yeah, it should be off of, so last year's was 15,116,537,
Right, this is what the-
so it should be.
What we used, right?
Yeah, what the actual levy
Yes,
was.
yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry, I misspoke, I apologize. So that's basically, if we stay with the 2.5, that's where we would be at. Obviously, as we know, we have a little bit of excess levy, which I'll show you as we get to the bottom. All I can do is level fund state aid at this point from FY 25 and hope that it's the same at the 282,571. I also have level funded local receipts at the FY 25 level. That is probably the only place we might see some movement in terms of additional revenue, but we're talking 50, maybe $100,000, if that. You're not talking millions of dollars of additional revenue in that line item. And that will be, we will get that all determined once we finish closing everything out for FY week 24. We're very close.
Not closed, but at least you'll have hopefully numbers.
We'll have numbers, yep, and then we have to get everything into the state for the free cash certification and the Schedule A by the end of February. So, but we're very close to having numbers. The consultant has done his reconciliation through the end of June. Now there are adjustments that have to be made on our end that June and Kathy have been feverishly locked in their offices working on making. So we have made a lot of progress there, but for right now, just for assumption's sake, I'm level funding that. Same with receipts reserved for appropriation. I'll get into other revenue sources on the next screen, minus assumed obligations would give you a budget of approximately, or revenue of approximately $17,715,467. And then what I did right now in terms of expenses is I put in all of the department requests, not including supplemental funding requests, but all of the department budget requests as they came in. So you will see our problem right away. We are going from a $17 million budget to a request for $21,870,465. And so what does that mean if we were to try to fully fund that request? What it means is, if you look down in the bottom, see if I can highlight that. Yep, the bottom left here, we had $1,247,675 in excess levy as of FY 25. It would mean not only will we use all of that 1.2 million in excess levy, but we would still have a deficit of $2.9 million that would have to go to override and debt exclusion, because that does include the $3 million school capital request. So I do want to put that in there because they have said that number will get pared down, but for right now, that is all the information that I have. They have submitted a $3 million capital, a request to capital. Plus an increase of about 1.5 million to the operating budget. So that's really what's driving this. So you can see right here, obviously, this would require a ballot vote for an override and debt exclusion, in addition to taking all of the excess levy capacity that we have.
Just to clarify, what you're saying is that at town meeting, if we voted this budget, we would still
As
have to have,
requested, correct.
as requested, then we would still have to have a separate election?
It would go on the annual town election ballot as a ballot question for a debt exclusion. There would likely be two, one for a debt exclusion for the capital items and another for an override for the operating budget items.
What
What was the,
percentage?
can you give me that number again for the operating budget?
I'll show you actually when we get into the expenses. I'm still working this out because I started with the expenses for the select board and then I thought that was a little more confusing. So I went the other way, but I think it causes questions this way too. So
What is the percentage of 4.23 million more over the previous levy?
wow, I'm glad you asked. Let me go back to. Oh, over the previous levy. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about expenses.
over the previous levy, yeah, I mean, most of it, I mean, nothing's really, other revenue is changing much. And I know you have to get into the other local ones, but
Yes.
if we look at just on the levy, what is that percentage increase? So you just have to take the 2.9 and 1. And add those up.
Oh, you're,
Add them to the already 2.5%.
I gotcha.
And that'll be, what percentage increase is it from the old to what that new would be?
That's really a negative. No, that's not.
I see who's gonna follow their seat when they see the percentage. But
Why
would you do this?
Yeah.
that gets,
Can I tell you that it's 8 minutes of 9 and
Yes.
I'm doing math on the fly, but
Yeah.
we'll,
if
no,
you give me the
it's
whole
not.
dollar, actually,
What do you, what,
I just need a calculator.
Percent of which over, what over what, Scott?
so you're talking about
Well,
a
if I took-
4,160,000.
Well, just take the 1,247,000.
Yeah.
675.
Plus the 2.9
Plus 2,912,937. Now
Is-
let's go to
is
the
the
top.
4610 right there that I did.
Okay, that's 416.
4160612.
416.
I talked.
Oh,
to this point numbers when it gets to this
612.
time.
Now go to the top of your
These
sheet.
are all estimates.
Yeah,
Yes,
these
thank
are-
you for always
Yeah,
reminding
these are
me of
all
that.
estimates. Keep going.
Stuck here. Hold on, sorry, got
So
stuck on the
lights,
side there.
yeah.
There we go.
Okay, so, and you have, what's the increase of, well, actually, just add to 15,505,045, add another 416,0612.
I follow now what you're asking. Okay. 19 million,
Yeah, 19,665,
this one,
something
Yep.
like that.
19,665, 657.
Okay, what's the percentage increase over 15,116,537 to get 19,665?
So you do, let me remember this one minus this one divided by 27%.
I was gonna say it's greater than 25%. And your target is to have a levy increase of only 2.5%.
Sorry, I didn't follow what you were asking me right away, but I caught on partway through, so I.
Yeah.
7%.
This is,
Requested was 2.5.
We, yeah, we
what
requested
we're-
everybody stay level because we knew there were gonna be those ND non-discretionary costs that were gonna go up that would eat the 2.5% plus new growth.
So while you're in the good news, I'm looking at the email from the.
Just have a smile, that's all I got, Mary.
From the DLS and with the preliminary municipal cherry sheet numbers. And actually the state, where's the state revenue there? State aid. That number is actually 280,517.
Oh, right, because they came out with it after.
It's $2,060 less than we've got listed
Great.
there.
Might as well add
Oh,
to
it's
it.
less.
Good job.
Yeah,
Well,
$2,060 less. Well, I just.
I will
wanna-
update that. Thank you, Mary.
told
That
you
I hadn't brought in yet.
I told you that while we're doing the bad news, I'll give you, that's a very small, it's only 2,000.
Don't you worry, by the time that gets all through everything, it might be 4,000 less.
So
Stop
smiling.
Try.
so
That's all I
if you
got.
had a number like this, whatever your tax increase was last year, you'd be looking at about a 5x increase over that number.
That would be correct.
So if you went up 1,000, you'd be going up another 5,000. I mean, that's rough estimate.
Well, yeah, depending on also if home values continue to
Well,
rocket and
yes, I
yeah.
mean, that's the,
the other
oh, well,
variable.
how much can the other stuff keep going? I mean, down, I mean, Solomon Pond Mall is,
Yeah,
what, less than 30 million total, right? And whatever percentage we are of that. I mean, when it was what, 200 million was the valuation back in like 2012. So there is a point it's getting.
true.
There's,
I guess
it can't,
home prices
Solomon Pond,
continuing
yeah.
in
might be-
addition to the commercial devaluation, yeah.
There's not much, I mean, obviously you got what's on 62 and other things.
Well, let me break this down a little bit more then for where we're at. And
restaurant brings in lots of money.
everybody, shop local. It's always a good thing. Can't promote specific businesses, but shopping local is always a good
Something
thing.
that we're gonna have to give in on sooner or later is allowing a drive-through somewhere.
100%. There is an
This-
article that the Clinton Item did where Jan interviewed me about
This
3 months
block
in.
is ridiculous. They shipped it a matter of feet. We're
Yeah,
not talking moving it miles away. We're
right,
talking feet.
correct. And I have
Which
put
facility?
For a
Highland
few of them.
Commons. We lost Panera and Starbucks drive-through revenue.
Panera, Starbucks.
And they're
Now there's a
Chick-fil-A
Chick-fil-A
here.
going up there.
Yeah. And there were a number of other businesses. Apparently the configuration Benderson has said is better for a drive-through on the Berlin side. So if that were to be expanded, there were a number of businesses that were interested more on the Berlin side than they were even on the Hudson side. So I mean, this is kind of the long-term economic development planning that I've started mentioning to the select board that we need to really start thinking about because, you know, it can't just be this like year to year to year bumping along, patching us through. Like, what is Berlin gonna? Oh, they can't hear you.
Loud enough?
Can't hear you.
Maybe it's not loud enough. Not loud enough? Nobody ever told me
Right.
that.
What is Berlin gonna be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? I mean, and that's the kind of planning that we need to start looking at. And how is our zoning restricting development from coming in? And I'm not saying we should turn into, you know, the city of Worcester. I'm just saying there is smart growth and development in targeted areas that can be done, and things like drive-throughs in certain areas. As I've always said, you don't want a McDonald's with a drive-through next to the general store. That would be ridiculous. But you already have on these outskirts what I would call smart growth that has been geniusly crafted here with Solomon Pond Mall, Highland Commons, Riverbridge. You know, you've done it in areas that make sense. And I think continuing to do that, you know, down at Riverbridge, that Dunkin' Donuts is built for a drive-through. The liquor store has a drive-through window. I mean, it's just a matter of, can you zone it in the right places? And one thing I can say is, you know, Tim Wheeler and I like to wax poetic about all of these things. But the planning board is going through what's called a zoning diagnostic right now, where with the help of the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, they are looking at all of their zoning. And initially it's to make sure that we're in line with state law. That's, you know, first and foremost, but also they have applied for what's known as an EEA grant to look at where should we be, where do we not have bylaws that we need, what should be changed, what should be updated. And I think that's really where this starts. It starts with the planning board. It starts with getting bylaws to town meeting and making some of those changes. And things are controversial, right? I mean, we talk about, we have 35% conservation land in the town. That is amazing, but a lot of that land has no trails on it. We have no money to do anything with it, but yet we keep acquiring conservation land, which takes up land for development. And these are decisions that this town has to make and has to start thinking about, which is why I also think we need some additional assistance on the economic development and long-term planning side.
You
But-
had started to say something about an interview. I cut you off. I apologize
that's
about
okay.
an interview with somebody. Did you,
Clinton.
with Clinton?
Oh, sorry. When I was here for about 3 months and Jan interviewed me, when I came, which I had never been interviewed before by a newspaper like that. Like, tell me about yourself. I'm like, I don't know. I like Heart in the Fields. You know, I don't know what to tell you. I love Berlin. It's great. And she goes, what would you like to see here? And I said, drive-throughs. And I went, okay, I'm either going to not make it through my first contract, or maybe we're going to make some changes. We'll see. But literally, that was one of the first things I identified where I said, this doesn't make sense, because if you do it in targeted areas and you do it properly, it can be done where it does not take away from the bucolic nature and the beauty of what is Berlin, which does deserve to be protected and needs to be protected. I think you can have both, but these are decisions that have to be made by the residents at town meeting. I can only sit here and recommend and sort of look at the big picture and say, hey, if you do this, if you do that. But this town is coming to a point where people's taxes are high. It's pricing people out. If you're not bringing in development, that is only going to continue. So where are people willing to give? Where are those pain points that people may have once said, absolutely not? well, maybe if we do it a little differently, that might be okay.
So let me,
I'll get off my soapbox.
no, I'm here for all that. Let me give you a couple of pushbacks. One is, sitting here on the finance committee for a number of years, I'm pretty well convinced that residential real estate development is costly to a town. It's not a moneymaker for a town. And I think one of the reasons that we have the high percent of conservation land is that we have a lot of bedrock and swamp in this town. Okay,
That's fair.
which is one of the reasons we were never a fancy town, because you go to the towns where there's big old houses like fancy, they had good farms. Okay, so Berlin's never been one of just the natural geography of the area.
Yep.
So when you talk about 30% of land in conservation, it would be nice to take another look at that number and see how much of it is actually buildable.
Use
land.
buildable, yes,
And I think
absolutely.
you're gonna find it's not a big percent of the
Hmm.
35, not a big portion.
It's a
I haven't
really good
done
thing
that,
to
but
look. That's a good thing to look
that's a
at.
gut level guess, okay? And I fully applaud the idea of, sure, why shouldn't there be drive-through in the Berlin portion of Highland Commons? That doesn't bother me. With respect to the Dunkin' Donuts at Riverbridge, that was designed poorly. Just visualize. You know,
Where we'd have to
get
go
on
to the
Route
back of the
20
hotel.
North and the Dunkin' Donuts there, you know, how
Yes.
traffic backs up.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that rotary
Mm,
with people coming off the highway and local people trying to go through that, and you've got how many pumps, gas pumps out in front of that place?
How much does that draw off of 290 though?
A lot.
Does it
Yeah.
really?
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah,
And I already
it's
have,
out of state plates all the time.
Okay,
because it's right off of 290, it's like the closest
Yep.
thing off of 290 that you can then get right back on 290.
And 495 is right there.
Yeah.
see,
so
I get off 495, so I tend to go the Highland Commons
Yeah.
route rather
But
than.
that's the other
Yeah.
point too, because then you can also,
Yeah.
you can also go 495.
Yeah.
But I go, because I have to go down that way a lot, and I'm going at odd hours, like not necessarily rush hour.
Yeah.
And it's
And
busy.
it's not even all the pumps. All it takes is like for one truck
Yeah.
to pull in. There's
There's
barely enough
very
space.
little maneuver space in that parking area, and if you could imagine adding additional like drive-through, because you have to go around the back of it, because the window
Yep.
would be on the far,
Yeah.
on the Whitney, it won't work. And the design was crazy.
Mhm.
But see, this is so helpful because I am hearing from people that don't understand the nuances and I don't necessarily understand them either being new. People are like, why isn't there a drive-through at the Dunkin' Donuts? Well, now I can go, it's not necessarily configured properly for down there.
Imagine morning and evening commutes with the rotary and with.
Yeah, no, I can
and-
see that.
And how the traffic would back up. I mean, you couldn't.
And
you
it went
couldn't
in
move.
before, and it went in before the
Good luck.
apartments and the,
Hotel, exactly.
Yep.
so.
And those
there
are
was-
just examples. I
Yeah,
didn't mean to say like that's, we should do that.
So
but-
our friends at Riverbridge could have moved
Mm,
that Noria building closer towards where the hotel is, but then they wouldn't have been able to put so much in there. So they squeezed it, and they squeezed out
gotcha.
a rational drive-through.
Okay.
It's just not.
Well, and I think as you get probably newer residents into the community that don't know the history, these are the types of conversations though that we should be having so that people understand why things are done the way that they're done. Could they change in other places and where it isn't going to work? You know,
Yeah.
I think
You'd
it's,
have a police detail there all the time.
Yeah.
Seriously.
oh,
And I think.
police officers might not mind that. No, I'm just kidding.
That was bad, Kristen.
That was bad. I'm sorry.
The cafe and liquor store, they just built the building that way. They
Yeah.
didn't even
Well,
apply.
they knew that there were no drive-throughs, but they just.
But they
went
did
in
it
and
anyways.
They did it anyway.
That
Yeah.
was a little audacious. I understand from the, yeah.
Right. I mean, well, obviously, it was for a couple of years there, it was almost an annual or biannual thing of appearing on the town meeting was trying to get the zoning passed. There's the last time I think Mary put a bid.
Did you put the
that.
kibosh on that one?
Well, it was the vendor that
During
was,
the pandemic, that's.
Yeah,
the one
yeah,
that I
this
got.
was-
So I
well-
built my fame on that one.
well, when the vendor that was pushing it was also in arrears on the mitigation or the agreements
Ah.
that set off a firestorm from the attendees.
Fair enough, and
So-
understood from the conversations that we've had, Mary.
It was
as well.
before Kristen.
It was BK, before Kristen, but understood from the conversations we've had. So, I mean, and I was literally just throwing those out as an example, but I think it's important to note that these are the types of perhaps difficult conversations that we are going to need to start to have. Otherwise, we're going to price people, particularly what I'm always sensitive to, which is your 34% senior population on fixed incomes out of the community. And it's not that they're being necessarily priced out because of the cost of housing, they're being priced out because of the taxes. And to some extent, if you look at other communities, we're not really that far off. But when you look at housing values, home size, and where you want to be, and if people want to be able to age in place, these are all things that we have to think about. So a
Well,
lot.
you also have to build for that, and Highland Ridge is not an age in place facility.
New.
And we had an opportunity there that we missed. Big one.
And, kind of my opinion, but to have these conversations, these difficult conversations, and make people aware of this potential 5-time, you thought this last increase was bad. What do you think about 5 times that increase? To have the conversation, this information needs to be out there.
Yes.
Because not everybody watches these meetings or goes to YouTube and watches the replay, and
Right.
they're not even aware of these potential issues until town meeting or until they get that tax bill and they, have that, what the heck is going on?
Well,
So how do we get that information out there and distributed?
Yeah.
And I know we have the website, but again, a lot of people, especially senior citizens.
That is the challenge. We did add one feature to the website that I'm hoping will be helpful that I just wanted to show you quickly since it came up. Over here on the right, we did a budget page that breaks things down.
Okay.
And it has all of the documents here, including the preliminary presentations from the schools, the budget calendar, the meeting schedules, the capital requests. And we actually have been working with a consultant who's helping us fix our website. So they actually designed this for us, and they pulled key points of information out of the materials, which I think they did a pretty good job, kind of summarizing the key points. And we want to plan to continue to build on this, and you literally can get to it right off of the homepage here under FY26 budget overview.
Great.
So it's not, we haven't blasted it out everywhere yet because I sort of test drove it with the select board Monday night, and there's a couple little things we want to change.
I haven't had a chance. I will take a look
Yeah,
at it.
no, this literally just got done. So, and there's a couple little tweaks that we want to make to it, but I think it's good enough that we could start getting the information out there.
So this is live now on the
This is
website?
live
or
on the
this is just-
website right now.
Okay.
Yep. Because before it was hiding on the town administrator page, but now we have the button that's right from the homepage that people can go to. When we were
Okay.
kind of working on it before, it was a little more buried.
This is new. The photos are rotating. This is all Marty Miller's work, right?
It is.
Yeah, fabulous.
So we're getting there. We're
yeah,
trying. I mean,
that's
it's
good.
not perfect, and you're right. It's not a solution for folks that don't go online.
Mhm.
But I'm hoping this might help at least provide more of a one-stop shop for getting the documents and the information. So you don't have to come to a FinCom meeting or sit and watch something on YouTube or, shuffle through minutes and try to figure things out. And short of that, I think that there's needing to be a lot of word of mouth. I think people need to talk to their neighbors, and talk to their, community members and get the word out that way.
So Kristen, when we're on firm ground with this button on our website, can we push it out to social media, the various? is that-
Absolutely.
And then, because I think that will
Yep.
help a bit with what you just said about people's awareness.
There were a couple tweaks I wanted to make from our meeting Monday night, and then we can
Yeah,
blast it out. But I mean, if it's not a huge deal, it's little things if you wanted to,
Yeah.
share it.
I'm gonna look at it tomorrow. It's been on my list to look at it and I just didn't get to it.
Take any feedback anyone has
So-
if you want to take a look at it as well.
So on this sort of big overview of the budget and looking at this reality, Chris Keefe sent an email today. And I have it because it really sort of gobsmacked me to understand what we're up against, and it's sort of something that I've been thinking for a while, which is the state, Massachusetts rolls down obligations to us and the towns around the school district funding and so on, which we are legally in some ways constrained about picking up. And so this note that Chris sent out, she forwarded something from a fellow who's part of the MASC, Massachusetts Association of School Committees.
Yeah. And
Uh,
who was
Paul
this email
Schwartzman.
sent to?
It just a
She's,
few people in
So
town,
she sent it
and
to
and
specific
Scott and I
people.
were copied on it.
Okay.
I don't have, I could forward it to you.
I
It's
think
not-
she sent it to the select board. I didn't even know that. there was-
Yeah,
Yeah, Mary and I were
Real-
copied on it. I briefly looked at it.
It caught my eye and I took a look at it. And the basic analysis that he's doing is saying, look, we are constrained with the 2.5% tax levy, but the state goes ahead and designs the minimum local contribution for all the schools, all the public schools.
Yeah.
And he did an analysis of all the towns, including Berlin, Boylston, right? So fiscal 25, our minimum local contribution set by the state, which is driven by income and
Yeah, I mean, valid,
Maybe Cliff Notes.
there's a value, basically the wealth of the community.
Yeah. So the difference between fiscal 25 and 26 and the minimum local contribution is $405,788. So they raised it up that much. But 25% of the fiscal 25 minimum local contribution is only 261,900. And so there's a percent that's over a 2.5 in the minimum local contribution, and that percent amounts to 3.87 for our town. Some of the towns, it's 15, some of them are -2. So it's a very interesting analysis that was done. And what he's saying is towns and schools, talk to your representatives in the legislature because this isn't working.
Yeah, I don't like his solution. His solution is basically, he's pushing that make it easier to raise taxes, that the water down Proposition 2.5 in the way his what they presented on it.
Well, he's school committee.
Yes, exactly.
He needs to advocate for his side of things, but I'd advocate for a different look at it, which is the state really needs to pick up more of this.
Exactly, and that is,
Don't
Yeah.
spend the money in the schools, but the state needs to help in a bigger way. And particularly when we have no voice in this minimum local contribution, they crunch the numbers, in the Department of Education, and there you have it. And we fund, and most towns fund above that level.
we're way above it. I mean, in
But there's a
our case,
mandate.
I'm not sure how much it would even affect us because we are so above the minimum level
I just
contribution.
pulled that.
Well,
Yeah.
it does, Scott, because if we did nothing different from the previous year, we're still being assessed an additional amount.
No, because we're way above the minimum contribution. That does not change what the final contribution number
If
was.
we were to fund level services from the previous year, we would still be impacted by the difference in the minimum local contribution of 405,000. So
I don't
this
think
impacts
that's,
us.
no, I don't think that's
If
exactly how that.
everything else stayed unchanged.
It would affect us with Assabet where we are at the minimum level
No,
contribution.
this is Berlin Boylston.
I know, but that's not what we're actually assessed. We're assessed way above that. And their numbers just start with the starting point.
Regional Local contribution. Yes, we're
Yeah.
assessed by the
The-
district.
the co- the-
I understand.
Yeah, the formula is a lot more complex. Like you say, Assabet, we know they're basically doing what the district or the region's minimum local contribution. It would definitely hit us in Assabet. I'm not sure how clearly it would hit us in Berlin Boylston.
Well, it would, I think.
Yeah, it's not clear to me that there would be, that you take that one number, just add it to the top.
It's a percent of the whole and people don't care about what.
Well, the minimum local contribution is just a minimum what you must spend. What's actually you're gonna spend at the schools is what their actual costs are. And they're saying, the state is telling you that no matter what, your levy, you must be at minimum assessed by the schools this amount of money, which we're assessed way above that. So it really just comes down to what our actual spending at the schools are. It's really, so in our particular case, I didn't see anything that necessarily showed that that would be a driver against our schools because we're so above that minimum level. It's just a matter of, will be more important would be if they come out and said, we're gonna put a new mandate in and now you need a new class, which requires a new teacher and that type of stuff. That's adding to our costs. But like that 452,000 just wouldn't add on to the top of what we're already, because it's a matter of what our actual costs are.
Can I get involved here?
Yeah,
sure.
Cliff.
My understanding of the minimum contribution formula is that it was originally designed because there were school systems that were underfunding their schools chronically, and therefore the schools were not well performing. So the state determined that, I believe it was developed during the ed reform of the 1990s, but I could be wrong about that.
Correct. It was like 93.
Yeah, and the point of it was to force schools that you will pay at least this amount of money to fund your schools. And that was mostly designed for the ones who were really underfunding. And I remember when I worked for a certain regional school district that shall remain nameless, one of the towns was so chronically underfunding that when they became part of the district, well, let's just say it was very difficult for the taxpayers in that community because they were suddenly stuck with this problem that they had been doing this for so long. The state determines what it's going to pay. It wants to make sure that you know what you're going to pay at a minimum. That's my view of it. That's my understanding of it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's basically, basically comes down to, and it comes down to is what we actually, said we're way above the minimum local contribution. The only difference on there is his solution to it is saying, we'll take the dollar amount here, next, look at it, like, here's your 2.5% increase of this minimum local contribution and say, well, what is the actual amount? Take that dollar amount and that's automatically added to your levy limit besides the 2.5%. And there you wouldn't have to go to an override. So it makes it easier to, I can understand part of it being it's a way to make it, so you don't have to go through the process of a ballot in an override process every time. It makes it easier for, like in our case, town meeting to, you can jump to a higher amount without that. Of course, we're well above at the moment, well above our levy limit, but.
Maybe I didn't read to the end with enough attention to get to what you're saying. But there is something wrong with.
Oh, there's definitely something, I mean, the whole state.
With the model that determines these numbers, there's something wrong with that when you have Proposition 2.5 that we all live with. There's something wrong with this model that does this, because most of these schools are not of the kind that Cliff described.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So the MCL has minimum local contribution has done what it should do. But today, when you look at these percentages, it's like, this is
Yes.
So it's a system that served a purpose decades ago,
well, I think it still
but
does,
it's not
Heidi, but
necessarily serving now.
yeah, but in their calculations, why would they do that? There ought to be a calculation when the schools are adequately funded. There ought to be a different calculation or something.
Yeah, exactly. It
Give
was
some relief to this situation.
Yeah, from what I read through the whole thing I'm going, it's like, I know they said they had gotten the legislature to what was it, approve a they didn't actually prove anything in terms of changing the law other than it was a whenever they just give support for something and say, yeah, we think that's a good idea, basically. I forget the terminology used in there. No, just like when a town meeting or something like, or a town board goes like, we support, Ukraine or something like that. It's just like no money behind it, no other thing other than just a statement. And that's what the legislature has presently done. And then they're trying to push to have the legislature actually put that into dollar amounts. And like you said, it's just a way of reducing the number of overrides by just making it easier for the taxes to go up.
Well, I've said for a long time that this is a statewide problem, which
Mhm.
makes it a state problem as well, because this is not unique to us. This is not unique to Central Mass. This is everywhere. If you follow in the newspapers, everyone was doing overrides, cutting budgets the last several years. I think what is problematic in my mind is the state has major new revenue sources. You look at the marijuana tax, 17% of which goes to the states. Only 3% of that goes back to the local communities. You now have, I forget what it's called, the millionaire's tax or the, why isn't more of that money coming back to the local cities and towns for the schools? And that's the part that kills me, because now it puts the towns in this push and pull between town and school. And often you're
Exactly.
talking now between public safety or educating our kids.
It's ridiculous.
And it should not have to be that way. And I said it Monday night, I'll say it again, proud public school graduate, our kids should have the best. We should not be put in this position. And I think the state has to step up and do more. And that's the communication I've given to our legislators since I've started, that this is the biggest problem that we have. I mean, and it's not just us, they're hearing it from everybody.
Mhm.
So that said, do you want me to walk you through expenses a little bit? Change the topic. I don't want to keep you guys here too late. I just want to kind of show you where the variables are, where the cost savings are that we've identified so far, and where the major increases are. And obviously you've met with some of these groups on their budget, some of them you haven't yet. The first thing that I want to point out, I use yellow, red, and green. Yellow is like a variable. Green is we're saving money. Red is it's costing us more money. So you're going to see 3 salaries that are variable right now. And that is the town administrator, the police chief, and the fire chief, who all of our contracts are up June 30 of 2025. So we are all in contract negotiations right now. So that is why that is a variable. You can see for right now, based on my contract, it's level funded from last year. You can see that there's a little bit of cost savings on the expenses for the accountant here, because there was a one-time FY25 supplemental funding request that is not there anymore. There are some additional expenses on the treasurer's side. We have a number of costs associated, going up with managing our various benefits programs. And, when the treasurer comes before us, they'll lay that out in more detail. One positive area is legal is trending way down because we had Riverbridge, Highland Ridge. Those were really what drove it up and made me jump it up to the $100,000 again, based on our FY24 spending, but we are trending to spend even less than $75,000 this year in FY25. So I'm comfortable taking $25,000 back out of that line item, with the understanding that should some type of major issue, because obviously my crystal ball is just as foggy as Sue's. If some major issue comes up, we will have to do a reserve fund transfer. So just keep that in the back of your mind, but the day-to-day legal expenses are down, and we have no major, knock on wood, issues on our horizon right now. Also, I took a hard look at data systems. We were leasing computers before. Those leases are up. The computers are ours. It was like a lease to own kind of situation. And we were able to secure a $25,000 state earmark for IT that is going to buy us the next round of computers that we need.
Good work.
So I was comfortable at least reducing that by about $13,000. Unfortunately, the other costs did increase within that budget, so it didn't offset it as much as I would have liked to have seen it, but at least you see a little bit of cost savings there. The election increase is not much, but because it's a 50% increase, it looks terrible, even though it's $3,150. These are the costs associated with software assurance and maintenance for the new ballot machine and poll pads that we're using at town meeting, which I think if you listen to anyone, it's been super effective, efficient. People are loving it, at least especially the registrars.
Mhm.
Let's see, planning, do we ever get one from planning board? Okay, so we're level funding for right now, planning board. That's why it's in yellow. I did not get a budget there, so we'll need to reach back out to them.
Your budget is like ours, right?
It's tough. It's 1,000. I mean, it's not really gonna make or
They're
break
afraid
the
it
bank
doesn't.
one way or the other, but it is in yellow just because I made an assumption.
Yeah.
Public buildings, always going up in terms of expenses. And, you know, as I said, when Fred was here, that is the most difficult budget, in my opinion, to estimate, because especially in the buildings when we don't have a history, or we have a history of not doing preventative maintenance, things are just going, and it's like, we're scrambling. So Fred did his best to estimate based on this year's costs and maintenance costs that he's now implementing as part of the preventative maintenance. But the good news is we were able to come down on fuel oil. So a little bit of an offset there. We looked at the cost of doing the town reports and the Powder House News and feel comfortable that we can take a $3,000 out of there. I'm going, listen, every little bit counts. I'll take it at this point. Obviously, we know our big hit this year is the police budget, which we've talked about because of the contractual obligations to meet the educational incentives, as well as the year 1 and 2 of the union contract that are hitting us. I do want to point out, though, that $180,000, my plan is to see that offset by $45,000 that was parked in the human resources line item, because there was 55 in there and we put some money in there for the union negotiations, not knowing as much as they would be. So my recommendation is going to be, when we get to that point, to move that money out of the HR line and leave 10,000 in there and put 45 into the police wages to offset that. Obviously, as you see here are 2 more yellows. That would be the police chief's salary, which just reflected the 2% increase, as well as the fire chief's salary, which reflects a 2% increase because that's how their current contracts are set up. Mine does not increase the same way, which is why I had to leave mine the same, because we don't know what will happen with that. This one, I can't figure out why it's 1.9%. And this is the building inspector assistant. It's coming a little under 2, and I meant to ask you that, but while we're here.
One extra day.
Oh, because she needs coverage? Okay.
It could be for that.
Okay.
Because it's a small enough budget where that's.
It's not a big deal. It's just where everybody else was at 2%. When I went, why is it 1.9? So I was gonna go back and look at it.
I'd have to look at it, but I don't know if he also decreased the coverage for the part,
Inspectors?
yeah, the covering if he's out.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Okay. Because I was thinking the plumbing and gas inspector were separate, but that's just the expenses that are separate, not the
Yeah.
actual
Yeah.
salary. Okay, I can take a look at that. It's not a major thing. It just jumped out at me that the number was, or the percentage was off a bit from the other ones. And one thing that you'll see, communications, this is going up 16%. This reflects the 2% increase for the public safety administrative assistant. But the big expense here, which is the 16,000, that's our regional dispatch. And I can say we have been, I'm chair of the admin board for the regional dispatch, trying to bring on other communities. Unfortunately, there is a complete reluctance of the other communities to allow others in. Unfortunately, I was outvoted 4-1 today to allow Hudson into the district, which would have helped us not only on efficiencies, it would have added $1,000 this year, but it would have saved us in future years, and communities were unwilling to make that $1,000 increase for FY26. So that is a dead issue, and because of Hudson's interest, Marlboro was also potentially interested. They have land and plans for a brand new station that we could have used, so we were having all of these conversations. They're now dead. So unfortunately, costs are just continuing to go up at dispatch, and we're going to continue to see that. There's not a whole lot we can do there. Obviously, if communities approach us, we'll continue to have the conversation. I might like to see perhaps a different configuration of the district at some point, but that's not up to me. Animal control, there is a cost savings there because it was $22,000 that we had dropped down into the intergovernmental last year because we thought we were going into a regional agreement. Fortunately for us, that didn't work out and we ended up saving money. So I will take money wherever I can. Snow and ice, there is an increase because we are accounting for obviously not only wage increases, but we're putting in overtime for the building maintenance operator who does come in to clean the buildings and shovel out the buildings that wasn't previously accounted for. And Fred talked about this when he was here. So added expense, but I think important to more, it's not an added expense. We're actually accurately capturing costs.
Yeah.
So nothing new, just actually making sure that we're capturing that. Neshoba Health and Nursing, we already talked about, looks like a 12.5 and 12.6% increase, but it's really 10 because they did a mid-year switcheroo on us for FY25. Social services, I gotta go back and just check to make sure those are the final numbers. Library, another place that has minimum, it's not a minimum local contribution, that's not the right word, but there's a minimum net spending that the library has to do. That has gone up this year, but it is offset by a small decrease in wages due to some newer staff coming in at starting salaries as opposed to the higher salaries. So kind of helps to take the bite a little bit out of that 20% increase there. Let's see. We're saving 5,700 on interest on debt. I'll take it. And then here's where we get to the big stuff. So this is obviously very preliminary estimates. As we know, when the schools came before us, Assabet and BBRC, they said this is extremely preliminary. They will come back. This will change. I just put in the numbers that we have right now because I have nothing else to go off of. I don't know how much Assabet will change because it is a per pupil assessment. And I believe that's based off of an October 1st date for the following year, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on the dates. It's after 9. So you got to deal with my memory at this point.
What's that being read? I can't clearly see.
Oh, I'm
what's
sorry.
That
That
number?
is 68,629. That is the Assabet projected increase based on new students coming in. If you do recall, though, that is due to them limiting out of district or basically eliminating out of
Eliminating it.
district, and that is going to level off in FY27. You're not going to continue to see that large of an increase because those spots are now being taken by in-district students and there's only a limited amount of spots. So once those swap out, you're not going to continue to see those huge jump
Yeah,
anymore.
they were basically offsetting our costs with the
Yeah.
Out of
tuition.
district.
And I think this, they showed is like they're not offsetting any or hardly any of the
I
health
think it's
insurance.
almost done.
I
Yeah.
think it was complete, yeah.
Yeah,
it was zero.
the students that are there that are out of district stay, but they're not accepting any new ones.
Yes, that's exactly it. So, and it's relatively straightforward with Assabet just because it is that we have X number of pupils. This is what we get assessed. This is what we pay. So there's a bit more straightforwardness there. Now, when we look at Berlin-Boylston, this is the one where we have to make sure we vote one number, I'm just making sure we get that in everybody's head. Just one number voted this year, but I did break it out because we did have it broken out by school in the budget last year. So for comparison purposes, I did break it out here. Let me make it a little bit bigger because it's easier to see. Where's my, nope.
Kristen, could you share what you're looking at?
Oh, I'm so sorry. You should have interrupted me.
I tried.
Oh, you did? I'm really sorry. I was kind of on a roll. Sorry, Cliff.
It's okay. I lived.
Sorry. You gotta just yell at me until I answer next time. Sorry, I get going. Too much hot air. All right. So you'll see, so where we were at, if you add up for FY25, all of the, oh, here's what I want. 25. So you can actually see this a little
Okay.
better.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. if you add up, all of the individual line items that we voted on in the way we can't do it, it adds up to our assessment for FY 25, which totaled $8,442,195. So when we get the assessment letter from Berlin-Boylston that breaks down our every other month payment, that total was the 8.4 million. If you base it off of the preliminary budget that was presented to us back in December, that preliminary budget is 12,899,325, or a difference of 4,457,130. There's a big caveat in there though, because that includes the capital. Which it has to, right? But we know that they're working on a 10-year plan. And as they mentioned, they put everything in there, which totaled up to $3 million in capital needs. And that they understood that was going to be worked out and kind of fleshed out a little bit more and spread out over the years. So that is the number that is in there right now. It is broken down at this time by school. You can see where those jumps are from year to year, from 25 to 26. And,
Can you point out,
yeah,
because this had come up, this was like one of the confusion that had happened last year with, when we weren't getting billed, because asked about when we do the debt repayment.
Yep.
The repayment amount goes down every year.
correct.
And then for the Tohoto debt repayment, that was one of the confusion points, wasn't it? Because
It goes up.
that one goes up, so that is gonna
Yes.
go up every year.
Correct.
And that may be one of those numbers that you're gonna have to explain to people going forward, or like, why does this one go down and that one go up?
Well, how does it completely go up? I mean, they showed the number they gave us, showing one of the bonds they missed.
Mhm.
It showed, I believe that it was assessment on the sheets was, I
Yep.
think it was 98,000.
Yep, but
So
in
the
addition to
overall-
that, the interest goes up every year too.
Right, but the overall, but if it only is going up by 78,000, so the other one must be dropping by about 20,000.
No, because this is actually reflecting the incorrect amount that we were charged in FY 25. So that 459,937 does not include that missed interest payment.
Does not include,
Remember, there were
Missed-
two
ye-
interests, there was
well,
a,
yeah, that's correct.
so it looks like it's a larger increase than it actually is. It's similar to, what happened with Neshoba.
Right, because they showed the one that we missed. What they gave it to us, the assessment for this year would be 95,253, which was not assessed at all the previous year. So if the overall thing is only going up to 78.
Was that wasn't broken out though between Berlin and Boylston, right?
Yes, this was this was given to us as only let's see, yeah, it's the Berlin share, yeah.
Right,
it's
'cause-
right here.
Because
There,
Oh, thank
that's what
you.
makes the Berlin share. So I mean, the one bond. the
Right, that's
big
for
bond-
26, I thought.
Yeah,
Yep, so that's where the 538,504 comes from.
right. So the one big bond must be dropping some. Otherwise, we would not be only increasing 78. We're adding one that was zero because they did assess it to us. It was
I
zero.
don't know if one goes up and the other goes down. There's a 2018 and a 2021 borrowing.
all I remember is it went up.
That's what I thought. I thought the interest went up and also there was that missed payment that added to it as well.
I don't think the missed payment was actually even in any
Yeah, it was.
calculation.
Yeah, exactly. It was completely.
It's just.
No, but when you look at FY 25 to FY
Correct.
26,
You have to
that's
take
why the
that
jump is
out.
$78,000. But
We
you're
talked
saying it
about that.
should
We
be
see this-
95, so why did it
Well,
go
no,
down to 78?
right, well, we know that one bond was 95, so the other bond looked like it would have a decrease of, well,
I
some.
have those bonds somewhere, the
Well,
the
it's
repayment
something- Yeah, we
schedules,
could
but we can
discuss
look at that.
that.
Yeah, let me
in
put
2
a-
weeks, we're being with the schools again. We'll get more detail.
She has the answer, it appears.
You got an answer, Beth?
Well, I don't know necessarily if I know what I'm looking at, but I do have an email about that missed. And I think it does go up. And it.
I was just gonna say, if it's okay, could you come forward just so they can hear you they can't hear you without the mic. Is that okay with you, Scott?
Yeah.
Roger will be coming in yelling at.
You
me.
can yell at you, yes.
Sorry, I have it as an attachment. I don't know. if you-
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's
Is
it.
that
Oh,
what you're
that is
looking
it.
for?
That's exactly it. Thank
That's what I
you.
was just trying to find.
So it goes, it's the 205, right, that was so what, it does go down.
Oh, it does?
One of them, the bond, that's the 2021 bond goes.
Right, the
205,
2021 does go down, but the other
250 to
one,
183, 750.
So what's the total? Does the total go down?
well, because they finally added that one in there, the total goes up for us because it was.
Right,
we
but
were-
not that
it
it's
was
really
a-
going up 78,000,
Right, it
it's
was-
disproportionately going up because it's reflecting the payment that wasn't in there.
The
it
for-
actually looks like
highlighted
it's the same,
purple one
right?
is the.
It actually looks like the total is staying the same. Right?
271,
It's just a
5,
portion.
275. No, it's going down $1,000, right? Oh, no,
Then, yeah,
500 to 250.
so it's not much.
Not
Goes down
much, a little bit, but yeah, no, that's
Thank
helpful.
you.
That's exactly what that's
Thank
gotta be. Thank you.
Either, we'll get more information anyways in
Yeah.
two weeks. but-
Yes, yes,
So if
exactly.
But if I just looked at this pure, if you put $0 in capital assessment for BMS in Tohoto,
Mhm.
you would have.
You want me to do that? I can.
Well,
Alright.
you don't, just those two lines, just pretend like they're zero. The 737,000 Tohoto assessment would take every single thing of the new revenue we talked about was the new growth and the 2.5% and those adjustments. Actually, it's a little bit higher than that. And the BMS, just round next, 1 million, and then you got the 1,078,000. That would take everything but 200,000 of our excess levy capacity. And that would be that 200,000 have to fund the rest of the government. I mean,
Correct.
right there, I mean, and that's with $0 for capital.
Correct.
They do no capital whatsoever, $0. I mean, well, obviously, just looking at the assessment numbers, you're looking at a massive increase and also having to go to a levy override.
Yeah, and a debt exclusion, because capital needs to come potentially under debt exclusion depending on what those capital items are. So,
Yes, right, exactly, I mean.
well, let me.
We thought town meeting was fun last year, I mean, we are looking at this year on steroids.
It is, and I mean, the one thing I just do want to reiterate that caveat about the capital, because I know when Al and, oh my
Aaron.
goodness,
Aaron.
Aaron, thank you. Sorry, Aaron, were here, they did state that they put in everything that was
Mhm.
needed.
Right.
And
So-
that's
Expect that to-
3 million.
That's
is that
roughly
Chris?
3 million.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah, we
And so-
expect that to be spread out, but even if you went to zero.
right,
We
so
are-
by zero,
we
right,
are
by zero
in,
those out, yeah.
Territory we've never, ever been in before.
So if we take that 3 million capital out of that figure, that's giving
There you
us
go.
that large 52.8%
Yep.
increase. If we take the capital out of that, what is the increase otherwise?
1,634,078.
She just did it.
But
I see that.
what percent, what's the percentage?
19.4% increase.
19.4.
No, something went negative on there.
What
so
did I
those
do?
should be
Those
zero.
numbers, this spreadsheet is.
Oh, that's the
Drive.
change, oh, that's.
Yeah,
saying-
but
Yeah,
whatever
okay.
because I took everything out.
Oh,
Everything
that's,
else is
right,
here.
obviously, we still
Oh,
have to figure our free
so-
cash and
so you
some
need to
things will
back
come
out.
out, whatever the free
Correct.
cash. But just assume they had
And then here it
nothing,
is.
they funded it
Oh,
only through
look at that.
You have
wherever
to
the free cash
know
is
what
available. They
Level you're
Took
at.
that, but it's just looking at
Google Drive is.
the BMS assessment, the Tohoto assessment, and obviously the debt
There
repayment.
it is.
You're looking at taking every single new dollar with a 2.5% increase to levy in all but 200,000 or approximately of the excess levy capacity.
So
Correct.
basically bankrupt the town.
Well, I mean, you're not, you would be, you will,
And then,
yeah.
on their repayment schedule, I don't think it's doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you, like say, on steroids, I mean, obviously what we talked about before, I don't even know what you'd call that. The tax increase would be versus last year, and you'd definitely be going to having to have an override.
Correct, because if we go back to our fun little summary page, if you recall, we have $1,247,675 in excess levy to start out with at the end of FY 25. So now you can see what it's done to the budget. It's pushed us into a deficit, which would require the override. Now, if you took out all the capital, which is unrealistic, but like you said, if you wiped it out, you're still talking a $90,000 override just for the operating side of the shop.
This is, you take the school capital out, not other capital.
I have taken out the school capital
Yeah.
completely
Yep, yep.
and just left in, now, again, that one, I would state too, that 1.5 million in the operating was an estimate as well. I imagine
Mhm.
that figure may come down potentially as well. So, but as of right now, where it stands, if you don't look at the capital at all, you zero out capital and we deal with that with, when we talk about free cash and all of that, you're still in the whole $90,000.
You know, Scott, you have
I
the,
did.
you have the presentation. Do you have a, an estimate in
just
there
took
for
out-
the state local aid to the school, the chapter 70? Is that in there?
Well, they, at the time, they did not have it, so they just said.
Because I'm looking at the
Because this
cherry
was
sheet.
December, right?
Yeah,
What was the, so this is what they had put in the, excuse me.
microphones everywhere.
A lot of voice.
So, oh, cool. I think that was
Cliff?
Cliff Beyond.
Cliff, you got
Yes,
something?
Cliff.
I was just saying, as someone who's not in the meeting, it's really hard to follow. There are a lot of voices all simultaneously talking.
Oh,
Sorry, Cliff.
Sorry.
And
So-
that also leads me to believe people watching this meeting are having the same reaction.
If they haven't turned it off yet, I mean, they might be,
Gone to
Well,
bed.
I wasn't going to comment on that, but
they just smashed their computer screen.
Well, let's put a pin in this just for a second. Let me just finish off the budget, which are the miscellaneous benefits and expenses for the town. Because that's not a great.
Yeah, we haven't even
either.
done-
Remember, I told you, just keep smiling. Worcester Regional Retirement, which is one of our fixed costs, we have no say over, is going up $82,966. Obviously, that's a, retirement's gonna be a driver on the school side of why their operating budget is going up as well. And chapter 32B, health insurance. I am hoping we are okay with a 13% increase, but we just got the news over the weekend that Maya is going up. The pool is going up between 9.9 and 19.9% this year, with an average increase of about 14.5%. However, I spoke with our rep, our claims are trending low, we're running well. So, I believe we'll be okay at 13.5, our original estimate, but I was hoping that was high. And that might have been a place that we could potentially cut back a little bit. And it's looking like with the rising costs of health insurance and the Medicaid shifting that's going on between insurance, basically all the things that are happening at the federal level with regard to insurance and how they're creating savings for individuals. What's happening is the insurance companies are passing that on to cities, towns, and private businesses. So we're picking it up on our side of the shop. So yes, good for the individual in their pocket, upfront with direct health insurance costs, having those caps on there, not so great for municipal budgets. So all that said and done, if we leave everything as it is, we have a $4,868,693 increase. And I did just break this out a little because I thought it might be helpful to see where those major increases lie, because we basically have three entities that we're funding, right? We're funding the town, we're funding Assabet, and we're funding Berlin-Boylston. So I did this little guy down at the bottom here. The town total increase is $343,890. At this time, the Assabet total increase is $67,673, because don't forget there's shifts in those other two line items a bit. And the total BBRSD increase is $4,457,130. And that's how you get to your total of 4.87 million.
And capital was that is
About
3
3.
billion. So like still 1 point. just under 1.5 million.
Now, I haven't gone in and made recommendations or cuts to anything yet because I wanted to just start with presenting everything how it has been presented, or requested rather, by
Yeah.
the departments and the schools, so.
So this is a starting place. Rolled up and starting. Yeah,
Correct.
Got it.
I did start with some of the simple ones, making recommendations, because when it's $500 or $1,000, there's not much you can go, and it's level funded for the past 5 years. There's really, not much leeway there, but the bigger ones, and I have to say, this is really the challenge because we really look at every dollar and we really scrutinize, and you guys do it too, when you sit
Mhm.
here and discuss this with the town. I mean, when we said level funding, we didn't say a level services budget. We said level funding. So that means if it goes up in one area, you've
Yep.
got to offset that somewhere else.
Yep.
And I think that the department heads have done a really, bang up job of trying to look at their expenses and taking a hard line, even a couple dollars here, $100 there, where they could offset those increases. So that overall it wasn't, as huge as it could have been.
So did you say that, BBRSD has sat with capital planning yet and gone over things?
Yes.
Yes.
And did you receive any feedback from, does capital funding then give you feedback as to what
So
they
capital-
feel is realistic and what is not?
They're in a little bit of a holding pattern right now because we don't have our free cash number. So until we have that, the recommendation I made to capital was to rate and rank the projects in order of priority. And then once we know the number, typically 30% of our free cash can go to capital if we follow our free cash policy. Now, that is just a policy. But it is a policy that is designed to ensure that we carry funding forward year over year. You never wipe out free cash completely, that we put money into stabilization, that we put money into, we have 3 stabilization accounts: capital, OPEB, which is the retiree health insurance liability that we have to offset every year, and our general stabilization.
Here it is.
The free
Our
cash.
guidelines, these were
Thank you.
driven by Department of Revenue suggestions.
Yep.
So these are the different buckets and this is the recommendation and we discussed it and voted on it. I think select board as well as FinCom voted on it. So, and here's our old free cash history, but my little form doesn't have the last couple of years on it, so this goes back.
Well,
to-
get on that, will you?
I will,
Well,
it's for you.
speaking of getting on, since Julie has been a representative for capital planning, maybe we should also throw that out there. Is anybody that wants, well, first of all, when does capital planning meet?
Their next meeting is February 27th at 7.
They're
But they
Thursday
meet
nights.
on Thursday nights at
Yeah, I'm
7.
not available Thursday nights.
Is there any other, well, Heidi,
Cliff,
Cliff,
you're-
are there any other?
I left the meeting, Scott. You can't talk to me.
You're the only one not in the room, Cliff. You know what usually happens when that's the case.
Yeah, you know what? I was just thinking that, Kristen. Uh-huh.
The next meeting is tomorrow.
No,
Or
February
next
February.
27th.
Oh, February,
Yeah.
February 27th.
Yeah, can I,
Oh, so we've got time to,
yeah, I can't point out that, Capital started to try that process, but without any number. Just felt completely lost and
Yes.
said that they were just gonna reconvene on February 27th and hope that they have at least a ballpark number to work with. To,
Sure.
Well, maybe they'll end up being more efficient, fewer meetings, just all packed in, right?
Mhm.
Packed in.
That is my smiley way to
There you go,
look at
that's
it,
it,
Mary.
there you go.
Good job with the
Smile.
Well,
smile.
it's also because when you look at the capital, what they're looking at is they have, again, different funds. So the
True.
police and fire departments, they're coming out of mostly the public mitigation.
Yeah,
So,
I have the capital plan I can share with everybody.
yeah, they don't,
Or the capital request, rather. I will share my screen. Hold on.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
It's patient.
All right. So these are the requests that have been submitted by department. I have a town capital plan and a district capital plan. So on the town side, we do a 5-year plan, as you can see. Fire, EMS, and police use typically the public safety mitigation funding. We have to talk about that too, because a ton of that funding has gone into the budget, either to fund the 3 police officer positions, because remember, we put back in one, we tried to wean ourselves off, but could not. And then also for the upstairs renovation project. So I haven't worked those numbers out yet, but will be as we get our revenue numbers in for FY24, we'll be able to look at that. Highways requests would be free cash as well as library. And this is where everything shakes out to be on the town side for requests. You have $294,091 requested out of free cash and $145,274 requested out of the public safety mitigation, for a total of $439,365. And I put the school ones into a spreadsheet as well. Those get funded out of free cash, but it goes in through the operating budget, then we offset it with free cash. That's why I put operating budget. These are the requests for BMS, which total $1,033,400, and the request for Tohoto, and this is Berlin's portion, $2,077,753, for a total of $3,111,153.
And I think one of them, the device replacement,
Yep. Oh, student device
I
replacement?
think that was the one where they were talking about that might not really qualify as a capital.
Oh, because they have to do it less than 5 years, right? Or-
It's less than
free-
5 years and it's more, and it may actually be, I think it's there for now, but it sounded like it would have been better all around if it was in operating,
Yeah, computers
because
are like on the fringe of what counts as capital, because they're typically running a 3 to 5 year replacement.
but they
now.
say now it sounds like more like it's closer to 3 years,
Right.
and being able to, I think they need to get a few different types of devices depending on the age. It sounds like that's one of the many things that the current district superintendent is trying to bring it to the 21st century, I guess, because it just sounded like everything was just being able to keep, because so much has moved from being textbooks that they have to buy software as a service and licenses. There's a whole lot to it.
Absolutely.
It's not just the devices.
And you're
So-
talking about a recurring cost.
Yeah.
A lot of these capital costs are one time, in the sense that if you buy a truck, it might last, depending on how much you use it
Mhm.
for, 8 to 10 years. You're
Yeah.
talking now every 3 years,
Yeah.
having to cycle through replacement of those devices. So really, it does seem like it should be an operating budgeted item, so that you have it on a replacement schedule as well.
Mhm. So, yeah, so when you're talking, the thing is that because that is such a big number, and I know people are freaking out about it, but that was like one of the things, that's like, that's 750,000. And so if that, instead of talking about it as a capital expense, and talking as an operating expense, and then some of the other things there,
Are they referring 750,000 as an annual thing at Tohoto, or is it one, if it was like every 3 years, it's 1/3 of that?
that I'm not sure. Because I think right now, the way they've been doing it, does this sound correct to you, Beth? It's like every couple of years, they're asking,
Every year it's getting put into the budget, so it's not really an appropriate spot to be allocating it anymore. And that his previous districts, that's not how they were accounting.
That makes sense.
But do you know if that 750 would be an annual? Okay,
I know
I
that
would hope
every
not.
year they were asking for money for it. I'm
Right.
not sure how that specific number broke down.
okay.
I would be surprised if that was every year,
I
but
would be
I don't
surprised
think it
too.
is. I can
yeah.
visualize like past budgets, the PowerPoint
Mm.
paperwork, and I think
Yeah.
it does pop up, but that's probably a multi-year, Scott.
Right.
Right, I hope I was doing a quick math of saying like
Y-
every
yeah,
3 years,
it's-
it's 250,000
that's where
a
my
year.
head was at, but
but-
we've been doing it on a buy it all at once and replace all at once.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, why it's that
So,
high.
so Scott, just think about it. We only have 1,000 students, okay?
Well, that's exactly, that's
Yeah.
what I go.
There's no way that that's,
Well,
an annual
it's Tohoto, that's not, they don't have a
Do
thousand
we-
students.
Adult-
Well, actually, it's Tohoto,
Well,
they have 6, 7,
all three
8.
schools.
So I don't
All
know what
Three,
the,
okay,
what the total.
Well, right, I don't know if that's middle, high school.
I'm sorry, this is Tohoto, so you're right,
Mhm.
it's only three.
yeah.
350 change, something.
So our share of Tohoto, that's not a 50-50 split. Right?
We're
It's a different
approximately 1/3,
equation.
2/3. We're like slightly more than a third, right?
So it would be interesting to see what is the total dollar amount for the capital request for Tohoto? I
I
mean,
think we have. that.
Yeah, these are the things why when we, this past year, when we try to break things out into the, for town meeting, because I remember a couple of years ago, you had the 3D printers.
mhm,
And I don't do social media, but people point out to me afterwards, it's like the arguments that are going on and people didn't even understand what they voted for, the amounts that they, well, what are they buying with this? And on top of it, didn't understand that what we voted on was like 1/3 of the cost. And people were acting like that was ridiculous, which first you're going, is like, well, you thought that was ridiculous. That's only 1/3 of the cost. They actually
Right.
paid 3 times that amount because Boylston paid the other
the other
2/3.
two-thirds.
So that's why we broke it out this past year in town meeting more detailed to explain that to people, because I saw that on social media, I'm going,
Oh.
and there's people calling each other names and all that, I'm going, none of you know what you're even talking about in the first place, you're all wrong. But that's why I pushed it first, like the warrant to more detail of that. Because exactly, you get into that
In the
thing,
ex-
people
in the
think that's the total
explanation.
amount, it's like, no, that's only approximately 1/3 of what the total is.
So let's just assume that that capital number is gonna change.
Well, it has, I
Yeah.
mean, it has to.
Oh, this is all of the individual.
And hopefully in the right direction.
But even without the capital number, I mean, it's
Yeah.
hopefully we have much better news
Here's the school.
coming
churches.
in 2 weeks.
The net is down 200,000, but
Unless
we're sending more
on-
kids to charter schools and we're getting fewer in. So we lost
Two devices,
50,000
there we
in
go.
school choice
Mhm.
and we increased about 45,000 in charter schools.
That's the total project request.
Because
That's
these are
not-
negatives, these are positives from
Right.
the state.
That may not be our
Anything-
portion,
what?
so we have to look at that because
From
I just went back and looked at the
charter
individual
school.
project
We don't pay that
request.
tuition.
And what it
Kind of what I'm reading.
doesn't say here, it says the total project is 750,000, but that's not clear to me whether that's broken out into
Apparently we do.
Berlin, Boylston. portions.
Schools.
It very well could be, which would bring that number down
Okay, yeah.
substantially.
Yeah, we'll find
We'll
out.
find out.
Okay, do we have any other business we wanted to do?
I think I've.
Now people are really confused. We got like 4 conversations going at the same time.
No, I apologize because I've had.
if I-
this-
She was
If I-
helping me understand something.
Can I say-
Still the newbies.
Scott, can I say something?
What was
Scott,
that?
Yeah.
Yes, Cliff.
Scott, you just highlight, this is not about the budget. You just highlighted something important because now that I'm sitting here listening to the meeting and watching it, I think as committee members, we have to be careful not to be talking over each other. The microphones pick up everything you're saying. So like the little
Yeah.
sub rosa comments, I'm getting them all. And I recognize the voices. I think that does everyone a disservice who's listening or wants to understand what's going on because it gets very confusing. You know, it sounds like a scrum, not like a meeting.
Yeah, it probably does. In fact, I think if you push these buttons, that's muting your microphone, right? So if you have to just push the button.
Hmm.
But any other?
Guilty, Cliff, sorry.
Thank you, Cliff.
We'll try to do better.
It's a valid point though, because as
It
we
is.
move into doing this more, you know, we want to make sure that everybody at home can not only hear but participate. So
Maybe have microphones muted and then when you are going to speak, unmute.
I think you have
Is
to
that an
hold them
option?
down though.
Unfortunately, it's the,
It's the opposite.
Yeah.
I certainly
okay,
work,
any other?
I certainly think it's
Yeah.
worth considering anyways.
Yeah.
That's all.
Any other business?
Not from me.
A little after 10. I'm assuming that's accurate. Yeah, 10:05.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so motion to adjourn.